eventually he even gets to the part where he wants to be, and he can just touch it. All he has to do is touch it, and he doesn't.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of SinCast is brought to you by MUBI, a curated online cinema streaming exceptional films from around the globe. Each day, MUBI introduces a new gem, and you have 1 month to watch it. From cult classics to acclaimed masterpieces, every film is hand-selected by experts. Try MUBI free for 30 days at mubi.com/cinemasins. That's mubi.com/cinemasins for your extended free trial. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Yowza.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
Hi there.
We are all here in this place.
Yes. We are.
We are. We did the pictures this past week. And everybody's like, hey, finally got to see face to the voice and all that. But there was this one girl. She was like, this is like watching the movie after reading the book. All of my illusions have been shattered.
Oh, God.
And I wrote, oh, no.
We're trolls, and she thought we were hunks.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Or she thought we were trolls, and we were just normal looking.
Yeah, maybe so.
It is weird that we took those pictures after you shaved like your entire
seriously.
head.
I almost, especially because of the angle of the lighter, I look like 60 years old in that picture.
You look fine in it.
And there were a lot of people who were like, wow, I didn't know that you guys sat so far apart from each other. I'm like, it's not that far.
We can touch each other if we want to.
Yeah.
Also, I want to tell those people I willingly choose to sit on the fold-out chair because the chair that's cushy that these guys sit on, for whatever reason, gives me swamp ass. And I don't like standing up after 2.5 hours of talking to wet diaper feeling.
I did not notice that in the picture or in any of the times we've ever done this podcast that you were sitting in that chair rather than this one. And someone wrote, why is Jeremy in the shitty chair or whatever? And I thought he was talking about this blue chair. And I was like, well, why should Jeremy be better than everybody else? And then I looked at the picture and I was like, oh, he's sitting on the fold out chair. And I was like, well, now that I look at it, it looks like he's willingly sitting in that chair. I don't think that was like because we gave it to him or anything.
No, I choose to sit here. It's all right. I appreciate your concern for my butt.
Yeah.
Yes.
But today we're going to continue the Marvel phases. We're going to be doing phase 2.
Wakanda forever!
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
Dance off, bro. Me and you. We know each other. He's a friend from work.
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Language.
I think this has generated a lot of interest in the last episode. We got a ton of comments. We got a ton of questions. We got a ton of know your wrongs.
Well, sure.
Nicely.
Those are my favorite.
But it seems like people are really interested in this, and I'm glad because we did take a deep dive into that phase 1, and we're going to do the similar thing to phase 2 and phase 3 too.
Well, and I'll tell you how much other people out there know these movies more than we do. When I say I haven't seen Tony do this in forever, they'll say, well, no, he did it in this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. But I think a lot of times context is needed. I was like, I don't think I've seen him use that laser thing that he used in Iron Man 2 since he wiped them all out at the end of that movie or whatever. And then he's like, I got a lecture about he's used the laser here. But most of the time I saw he's used it, it was for repairing stuff. It wasn't for killing people.
Like Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah. And he could have used it in Age of Ultron. Like, he really needed to use it in Age of Ultron, where they were surrounded by motherfuckers.
Well, the thing is, you weren't saying he hasn't used lasers.
Right.
You were saying that weapon at the end of Iron Man 2 is a god weapon.
Yeah.
It's a bend down, and everyone in the radius is going to die.
Right. Yeah.
And he's never used it like that
No,
since.
he hasn't. And that's what we're sort of up against a lot of times. It's like there's some misunderstanding of what we mean sometimes when we say that. So that's why we're getting a lot of know you're wrong type stuff, is because the context of what I'm trying to talk about here is very much that context that I have never seen that since.
Yeah, and it's also interesting conversations to have when somebody says, yeah, you know what, there is this. I think I saw one on SoundCloud where it said that there was a brief glimpse of Captain America's little wrist thingy that brings the shield back.
He touches it and there's an electric shock
Yeah,
thing.
but then there's no dialogue about it. Yes, it's just something for people to have some context to if you're paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
But our point was that it would have taken 2 seconds of dialogue, and that's fun things to talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe it would take away from the movie.
I had a realization about this. I think that I got to stop saying shit that people are going to disagree with because it's not always fun in the days after a podcast drops. But I think they need to make comic book movies where they're catering more towards people who don't know shit about them.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, now granted, I think they do this in general.
Mm-hmm.
They do understand that the bulk of their audience doesn't know all of Iron Man's origin story, and so we need to explain X, Y, and Z. But they throw these little winks in, like that. Like there's what, a 1.5 second shot
Yeah.
of him touching his wrist, and it sparkles. And if you've read the comics, you probably immediately fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. I've never read a single Captain America comic in my life.
Mm-hmm.
If I even see that shot, which goes by quickly, I don't have all the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is, he's got a wrist gizmo. And it's like, I rewatched Winter Soldier in between last week and this week to try and have at least one movie where I had a fresher perspective. And there's that whole fight on the boat in the beginning with like Kicker Guy, who is in the comics a villain that people know. And if you're a Captain America comic fan, that scene holds more weight for you. You know who he is. You know they fought before. There's probably dialogue in there that winks at it. But to me, he's just generic villain who kicks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts the movie from my perspective because you tried to shoehorn a little fan service in there. But it doesn't work for the non-fan servicey. Does that make any sense?
No, I understand.
Like,
Yeah.
I think in general, they need to do less of that and more of... Because every one of these Marvel movies comes out and somebody's got an article like, here's all the Easter eggs
Yeah, I know.
for comic
I
fans. And I'm just, why do we
I
keep
understand
doing
putting
that?
in some of those.
Well, a visual Easter egg is one thing.
Yeah.
But when you want to bring an obscure character comic fans will know as a villain into this movie, but then you don't give him any context for a movie viewer who doesn't read the comics, and it just ends up being boring.
It's in a different universe, but it's almost like having Captain Phasma just show up at the end of Star Wars, and people who are familiar with the lore and the canon and stuff like that know exactly who Captain Phasma is. I don't fucking know. It's just a shiny suited stormtrooper.
Like fans of the expanded universe, especially the novels, know that Luke went on to marry this Mara Jade character.
Mm-hmm.
And if they ever introduce her in the movie, they're going to do like a Benedict Cumberbatch, I Am Khan kind of womp, womp, womp. And all the people who read those books are going to be like, fucking A! And I'm going to be like, I don't care. I have not read the books. I only know that because I reread it too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't mean to derail us. Iron Man 3?
Yeah, they kicked it off with Iron Man 3, which got Shane Black as writer and director, and that's a great thing to do. But this is one of those that it has some parts of Shane Black in it, but ultimately, Marvel is in control of this and everything. Now, of all the movies that I rewatched, and everything, this one came off better than it did the last time I watched it. I'm still not going to put it up there as far as the ones they've come out with and everything. But I liked this one a little bit better just because it did seem to have sort of a down home type of feeling to it. This is where you have the common man is helping out Tony as his suit is just destroyed and everything. This also sort of contributes to Tony's character as we get closer to Civil War too. In Iron Man 3, he's definitely, again, he has treated two people badly. They've come back to haunt him in this movie. That's what this one's all about. He's always got some new affliction. And in Iron Man 2 he figured he's going to die, and he starts drinking himself to death and all this other type of stuff. By the end of Iron Man 2, he's got a new arc reactor thing made of a different element and everything. Iron Man 3 is having panic attacks.
Oh yeah.
So he can't sleep. He's just making Iron Man suits the whole time. He's like all day and night, apparently. And this comes to roost later on when he calls them all out and everything. But again, he's he's treated somebody bad, and this is Guy Pearce's character, Killian,
Right.
who wants
Definitely not Sam Rockwell.
yeah, who wanted to give him something early on at a like a New Year's Eve 2000 party or whatever, and said, "Hey," he goes, "I love your tech. Wait for me on the roof or whatever." And he ends up banging Rebecca Hall instead, which is what we would all do.
Yeah. Hang on, Guy.
And so Killian's out on the roof the whole time, and we waited out there for like hours for him and everything, and this comes back to haunt him later on. And then we have a thing called the Mandarin, who's a terrorist, and Ben Kingsley's playing in him and everything.
How did that storyline play out for you the second time?
The second time I liked it a little bit better.
I think I did too. I
Because
watched this twice, and I think I liked it better.
The main reason is that I think it is somewhat genius, although Killian doesn't exactly hide very well in this movie at all. I mean, if he wants to blame everything on the Mandarin, he does a very poor job of it. I mean, he does a good enough job in public by having this guy come out and be like a terrorist and everything. But I do like the idea of a bad guy blaming it on someone else, hiring someone else to take all of the blame when it comes to it. It just feels like a sort of a letdown.
It's a total letdown.
Because Ben Kingsley is playing this character.
And he has been portrayed and built up, I guess, brilliantly as this super badass and this super, like, if you could imagine that character the way it's initially played all the way through, like, this would be a formidable opponent. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like, it turns into fiery dude and all that stuff. And I don't know. It's, you're right. Once you know it's coming, it's a little bit more satisfying, but I still don't like it all that much.
Yeah. The main thing here is that Killian's synthesized this extremist stuff, and he's putting it into soldiers. Again, this is a Marvel staple. Putting something bad into soldiers and making them kill machines.
Yes.
This is something that happens all the time. This was synthesizing the thing that Rebecca Hall's character is making. She's making something that will regenerate like plant life and stuff like that. But he turns it into something where like, oh, well, we can make these super soldiers who turn into flamey shit and all that.
Flame on.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's more competent than Sam Rockwell's character in Iron Man 2, right?
Definitely. Yeah. Rockwell is this. That's where I sort of fall a little bit. They're not the same, but they have that same kind of whatever. Rockwell's such a dumb character in Iron Man 2, and Killian is definitely a smart guy.
Right.
But this extremist, the reason why first off, Tony stupidly goes to the cameras and he's like, Mandarin, I'm not afraid of you. And if you want to come and see me, I live at blah, 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 blah in Santa Monica or whatever the fuck. And like, why does he do that?
Because he blows
it's
it
the dumbest
fuck
fucking
up.
thing
Yes.
ever. And so like
he's pissed when he's at that press conference.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose people know where Stark Mansion is anyway in the universe. But to call down the thunder when you know this guy is perfectly capable of doing it while you're just sitting around talking.
Yeah, and at this point he's in a committed relationship with Pepper.
Right.
She lives there. He doesn't even think about that. And then they go and blow it up. Now he sets his suit to go to like to Tennessee.
Right. Does the whole suit go, or is it just a part of it that goes?
No, it's the whole suit, I believe. And then it runs out of power when it gets there. And he actually knows something possibly involving this extremist has happened in Tennessee, or at least maybe somewhere close by or something.
No, I think it's in that town.
Yeah, no, it's in the town, but I'm just saying like he's already researching where this energy has gone off before, and he's much like Doc Brown in Back to the Future puts in November 5th, 1955. It's just automatically set to go there once he goes. So then he crashes there or whatever, and that's where his suit's out of commission. And so the kid finds him and houses him in the garage and
Simpkins.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Bad Santa from that point on.
Well,
it is like Bad Santa.
This is both this is the most Shane Black part of the movie.
Yes, it is.
And at the same time, I will never understand how that pussy line got through, because it is I was working my way through this line on my way down here driving in the car. I can't come up with any explanation that makes that okay.
What is the line again?
Well, he talks about my dad went out for scratchies, and that was 6 years ago. That's why I guess he won. And Tony says, which happens, dads leave, no need to be a pussy about it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And
yeah.
that line is fine if you just say no need to whine about it.
Right.
But that extra edge of calling that little kid a pussy is out of character even for Tony. And I know Tony's a cocky asshole, but has he called anyone a pussy in any of these movies? No.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the interaction. A lot of it comes from the fact that they've cast a good actor. Shane Black seems to do this very well. Because even in The Nice Guys, he cast a good child actor that interacts well with an adult. And this is, like you said kind of a down home feel. This is where the movie, when it clicks, this is what's making it click.
Yeah. It's the down home. You have the kid helping him out, and then there's a point where he goes into a news van, and he asks the guy in the news van if can I use your satellite, and all that, and it's this whole thing where like these people are helping him out. And he goes to a bar, and like there's the mom of a soldier who blew himself up. They consider him a terrorist. He just came back and he snapped and everything. Tony knows that it's probably something due to this extremist and whatever. So yeah, that's what the whole movie's about. And it ends up there's a whole finale where they take Rhodey's suit. And one of the guys jumps into the roadie suit, and he's on Air Force 2, and they kidnap the president. This is a very Shane Black.
It's the guy from Shawshank playing the president.
Well, it's
Sadler.
William Sadler.
Yeah.
It's not Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah, it's Bruce Greenwood.
Alexander Dumbass.
And there's a whole thing on a construction site at the end. Pepper Potts gets infused with the extremists towards the end.
Now wait, does the movies honestly? Do they ever explain? Does that go away?
Yes.
They take it out of her?
There's a point at the end where they say, we're going to find something to help you out.
Oh, that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. They could have gotten Gwyneth Paltrow more involved.
It's just like we said with Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, that character's actually Thor now.
Who?
Jane.
Jane is?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus
well,
Christ.
And that's one of those things too. Like, yeah, you finally gave one of the female characters something to do, and then you're just going to take it away. Like, you couldn't just make that where, like, well, she's got the extremist, but she's got the good kind of extremist.
Yeah.
Or couldn't you have somehow stuck Black Widow in there and given her the extremist so she'd be more useful in future movies?
That would be awesome.
I mean, what I remember about this movie, and a positive, is that scene when he's Tony's prisoner and his suit gets to him one piece at a time.
Yeah.
And he has to sort of, it's one of my favorite things about the movie, and one of the only things that brought me joy about the movie, is he has to figure out how to fight and escape, like, with parts of his suit at a time.
Yeah.
I've only got one hand blaster, or I've only got one leg thing.
Right.
And that whole sequence is delightful.
That's the other part of what I was talking about with the whole, like, down home type of thing. Even he is a common man in this movie.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, the calling the suit thing is a pretty funny scene because he's like chained up.
Yeah.
And he keeps telling the bad guys, like, all right, this is your last chance or whatever. And the bad guys are just sitting there with guns like, oh, okay, whatever. But then, yeah, finally, by the way, these parts are coming from freaking Tennessee to like Miami, by the way, and finding their way smashing through to where Tony is and everything. But yeah, I did end up liking this a lot better. I used to consider this the worst one. It's no longer the worst one.
I would say, you still think Thor: The Dark World is the worst one?
Yeah, definitely.
And then Iron Man 2 is probably pretty close down there.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, Iron Man 2 or Thor: The Dark World are probably competing for that dubious spot. The curious moments I wrote in this one, Tony interviews the mom of the suicide bombing soldier at a bar. And he quickly finds out that she was called there by somebody else. And it turns out to be one of the women that's got the extremists in her, so Killian is sent down there and everything. And I was like, how did you set up a meeting with this woman when she was set to see somebody else? Or how did he know about that meeting? I never really understood how he knew to go see her at the bar unless, and I rewound it. I was like, is there a part in here where he finds out that his mom likes to stay at this bar or whatever? And I didn't see anything. Now, it could be it just blipped by on one of the other things that he finds out, and, he just found out about the meeting or whatever. But he doesn't seem to think that someone else is coming. He doesn't, he comes there like he arranged this meeting. And then he's like, and she's like, oh, well, this other lady called me here or whatever. Like, that's a curious moment. Then, how
about Rebecca Hall showing up right before the terrorist does?
Yeah.
'Cause doesn't she visit Tony's house right when the attack happens?
Yeah, she does. And if you know that that's about to happen, wouldn't you want to show up a little bit earlier?
Because she's in on it, right?
Yeah, she's in on it.
So why would she even do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
How did she know? Well, the missiles are going to hit here, here, and here, and I'll just stand here and not die.
I guess so. I know. Or he'll call a suit in, and
there you go.
I don't really know. I think that's one of those things that they put in movies where they're trying to keep you off the scent. So it's like, all right, well, it doesn't make sense now. Well, now that I found out all the stuff that I found out, Tony hacks Rhodey's suit in this because it's made by Killian's company. And this is when he gets the satellite and all that from the dude in the news van and everything. And he hacks Rhodey's suit, and Rhodes gives him his password and all that to the suit. So he goes in there and he types in all the stuff. And somehow in Rhodey's suit, there's all this video evidence of what Killian does and everything. Like, why would you put that there? And I was like, well, that's really convenient, isn't it? Like all this stuff, like showing how the extremist agent is put in is, I don't, now I was sitting there like watching Iron Man 3 going, did we send this? Did we send it? And that was the one where we had the viewers come in with their own send. So we never send, this is the only movie we never send ourselves.
Interesting.
Aside from Amazing Spider-Man, which we did the honest trailer. Amazing Spider-Man 2. Where we had the crossover and everything. So, this was when I was like, did we do this? Did we do this? And I was like, I couldn't remember if we send it or whatever, send these particular moments. And it just turns out that, we let the fans send that one. So we didn't, so I don't remember much about that video.
Never again. That was so much work.
Yeah.
That was so much work.
I imagine so. You got like thousands and thousands and people kept coming in with the same ones over and over again. And after a while, you just like, I don't know which ones to pick out of this group.
Very bad idea. Sorry, fans.
Yeah. And I keep doing this throughout. The final fight here is Killian versus Iron Man. Killian's got the extremists. He's again stronger than Tony. Mm-hmm. Tony uses his wits to kill Killian.
Actually, doesn't Pepper play a part there too? Or
Pepper ends up like
saving the day, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
Okay. In a sports bra.
Yes, in a sports bra.
With firearms.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly what
hot.
she does. I know that she has to that's what Tony traps him in a suit, and then she goes over and like heats it up. And that's what happens.
Nice.
End credit scene on this one is that Tony's revealed to have been telling this whole story to Bruce the whole time.
Hi.
Yes, and as if Bruce is a therapist,
right?
Not like awesome science, guy.
Yeah.
And Bruce fell asleep within the first 5 minutes when they were talking about he was talking about the New Year's party. And everything.
What does that set up? It sets up Ultron, I guess. Eventually.
Yeah, sets up Ultron.
I think they're just trying to wink at the buddy French because everyone loved that Stark Banner relationship in the first Avengers,
mm-hmm.
and I think that the studio was like, we got to play that up a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Stan Lee cameo is that he's a judge at a Chattanooga beauty contest.
All right.
Nowhere near
sounds
as good
like something.
as the Stan Lee cameo in Bourne Legacy.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you're right. It is weird he doesn't speak during that entire time. He usually has something really interesting to say. God, Bourne Legacy, just a missed opportunity.
I liked my parenthetical note. This is not Stan Lee. It is just an old person.
The next one is Thor: The Dark World. This one is from Alan Taylor, who was an HBO director guy. He did Sopranos, I believe, and he's done Game of Thrones, I think, even. It just goes to show that a TV director doesn't always mean going to translate.
Yeah, I saw this when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
For all of these Marvel movies, I enjoy on some level, and I remember a lot about on some level. For whatever reason, I remember nothing about this movie. It being like hard to look at. Like there's just too much going on. It was dark, as the title says.
Yep.
And I don't remember really anything enjoyable coming out of this movie. I'm sure there is something.
The villain's Mistopheles. What's his name?
It's Malekith.
Malekith.
Yeah.
There you go. I like
Played, of course, by Christopher Eccleston. Christopher Eccleston is one of the few people that you can bury under makeup, and you can still know it's Christopher Eccleston.
It's he and Ron Perlman, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there's no hiding it. As soon as he starts talking, I'm like, there's Christopher fucking Eccleston, as I live and breathe. But yeah, this is the Dark Elves and everything, and we have some connection to Infinity Stones. The Skeksis. Yes. This is the first. Now they still haven't quite mentioned them as stones yet. This one, the power is Aether or whatever, and I'm trying to remember what the Aether is. God, what is that? Eventually, from what stone is that? Can we look that up?
Isn't it red?
It's red, yes.
Reality Stone.
It's the Reality Stone.
Yes.
I was right.
Yes.
The one that nobody
First
suggested.
try. But yeah, this is the Dark Elves had this Aether as their power, and eventually the Aether will become the Reality Stone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so just like all these dumbasses who try to attack and be evil and shit, they're killed by Odin.
Yes.
And 5,000 years ago, and this Aether or whatever just I don't know, goes up into fucking space or something. I don't know what happens to it.
Aether goes into the ether.
That's right.
You know, it really would be cool. I would watch a flashback Odin movie. Like Odin kicking ass when he was young and more powerful than Thor could ever dream of being.
Yeah.
Because it's all like just kind of implied.
Mm-hmm.
Really. I guess maybe you see him do something in that first Thor movie when he goes and rescues them at the beginning. But basically, you have to believe he's more powerful than Thor.
Oh, yeah.
At least in his prime.
In his prime, he's probably more powerful than Thanos.
There was this discussion that he had to die because Odin could just fuck start Thanos.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I've heard. Is that Odin could have just destroyed him easily and wouldn't have been a problem. That's why he has to die before that.
That's why he has to disappear into the ether.
That's right. And he's been
ether.
He's been trapping Kate Blanchett, not Hela, Kate Blanchett the whole time. Actually, so the Aether was the Asgardians bury it on Earth. They do what everybody makes a mistake with the most evil powers in the world, in the universe. They bury it somewhere, and they think there's no way that it can be found.
Did they at least bury it more than 5 feet down?
Oh, God, I don't think so.
What was the movie we did recently where they buried the evil thing like literally like 5 feet down?
Oh, it was the one where they found it in the water. But Justice League.
Wonder Woman?
Might have been Wonder Woman.
No, I think it was Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman, because Zod's thing comes crashing in and they find it in the thing.
I guess they do bury this deep, but it's like it's one of those things, like all this stuff of course happened 5,000 years ago. They couldn't have possibly known that there would have been machines like cranes and shit and bulldozers and everything that would dig deep into the earth.
Yep.
I don't know why they chose Earth of all places.
I was just
either.
thinking that.
I don't know why they did that. It just came down like, let's put this here and everything.
Mid-God.
Yeah, mid-God. So yeah, now Jane Foster, this is Natalie Portman's last appearance in these movies.
Mm-hmm.
She is studying these anomalies that are in London and everything, and they find these kids who are like, we did this fucking cool shit where we throw the shit down.
Oh my God, I just remembered she goes to Asgard.
Yeah, she does.
I forgot all about. I blacked this out of my brain somehow. She ends up in Asgard.
She does, because what happens
God.
is everybody's throwing stuff down in this like this interminable loop. Basically, they're throwing sneakers down there.
Mm.
Sometimes things don't show back up, and she goes to some other spot in this building, and finds the source of the Aether. But she gets infused with it and everything, and gets sick.
Mm.
So like. She doesn't get sick right away, but then Thor knows that something's going on and everything. He comes down, and then she gets sick, and then he takes her off to Asgard. And so like everybody's pissed. Well, Odin's pissed off at him because he's brought this human being to Asgard and everything, but whatever. So
is Thor king in this movie?
No. No.
So he never becomes king.
Never does, because by the end of this one, by the end of Thor: The Dark World, he goes up to who he thinks is Odin, but it's actually Loki, and tells him, I can never be king. There's too much stuff going on out there. I need to be there to protect it. I can't, be king of Asgard and do that at the same time. And the Odin / Loki was like, well, that sounds awesome. And Thor should have been like, wait a minute, but he doesn't think that. So anyway, but Loki is being punished in this movie for his role in the Avengers, for all the stuff that he's trying to do in the Avengers. So they put him down in this Asgardian prison where, he's behind some magic fucking portal force field thing or whatever. And the Dark Elves can sort of sense where all this power is and everything. They know that the ether is in Asgard. I don't think they know it's in Natalie Portman at this point, but they do know it's there. So they send the main guy Malekith sends some of his henchmen down to Asgard to find this stuff and bring it back to him. So there's a big battle on Asgard. They bring all their ships out there and everything. Another Dark Knight type of scenario where the henchman guy gets imprisoned and then breaks out of prison, takes all these other people with him, and they lead this assault on Asgard.
Yeah.
And they fail the first time that they try to do it. There's a whole bunch of stuff with Renee Russo, and I can't remember her character.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot she was in that movie.
Yeah, there's a whole thing where they're...
I'm glad I'm not the only one that's forgotten.
I need to see a therapist to get this movie back out of the recesses of my brain.
The main bad guy comes in, and she and him like have this fight, and Jane is like an illusion or whatever. They think they know where Jane is, but she's being projected essentially. But by the end of it, Thor comes in, and then like a ship comes over, and the bad guy flies off with the ship and everything. And so they don't have it then. This is a fucking terrible movie.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
None of us remember really anything about this movie.
I forgot Renee Russo was in it. I forgot Thor had a mom. That's who she's playing.
One of the things that we forget here in this whole prison break is that Loki is also, well, actually, no, he doesn't let Loki out. Loki just says to the henchman guy, go down the stairs a little bit to the left. And so it sets up a thing where Thor goes to the Dark Elves world, and Loki pretends to betray Thor, which in the movie you're like, oh, well, that's something Loki would do. But it's a ruse to make it seem like he did that so that they can attack the Dark Elves. But the Dark Elves end up getting the ether out of Natalie Portman. She brings her up into the sky and sucks all the stuff out of her. And then
man, that was a great hand waving description.
That's right. And then, and yes, exactly. Because he's an evil guy.
That's right.
He has to hand wave a lot. Loki pretends to die.
Yes, he does.
He pretends to die.
Is he wounded, or is he just
I think he's definitely hurt. I think he's dead. Like, he looks dead. And Thor's like, does that whole thing that Matt Damon does in Thor Ragnarok. Does that whole thing where it's like, oh, we'll tell Asgard about your heroism today. And all that. So they go to London next. This is where Selvig has found out some sort of triangulation of all this anomaly shit and everything. And Selvig all the way through this movie is still kind of crazy from the events in the Avengers because his mind was controlled by Loki and so on and so forth. And they're trying to lure Malekith down here, and Jane invents this thing that's sort of almost a Doctor Strange like device, which kind of sucks people into portals and stuff like that, using this anomaly and using some whatever. It looks like, I don't know, it looks like a tripod, taped together with some, I don't know what the fuck it is. It's one of those where you're like, I don't care, just get on with it. You've made a thing. I get it. And so it ends up being a portal, and the portal sends Malekith to another world where Thor ends up, what does he do?
It says something that this is like by far the most number of times you've had to check your notes to even remember what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
I think that says something.
He ends up sending all these pieces of Malekith's body through all these portals.
Oh.
That's how he ends up
winning.
winning.
I actually do kind of remember.
Yeah. there's even a point where they're going to all these. I think there's a planetary alignment thing going on too at the same time. So like these portals go to all these different worlds. They even go to Jotunheim where the frost giants are and all that. That's where there's some creature, the creature from the first Thor, that Thor really, like, he destroys one of these creatures in the first Thor, but there's another one that shows up in this one. That one ends up going through a portal. Now here's something that's never been explained. He ends up going through a portal and he's on Earth and he's in an end credit scene. This creature from Jotunheim's running around London. and that's like an amusing scene, but what happened to that fucker?
I think what this speaks to is that there's so many different worlds and different locations in space and shit like that. And it's so free range when you come to Thor and being a celestial story. You have to keep the story simple for it to work, which is why Ragnarok works so well. It was on 1, 2, 3 locations, basically.
Yeah.
Thor was basically on 2 locations. And those are much better movies because you have to ground this instead of just letting it all over the place, which is why it's hard to even keep up with what happened in this movie. There's so much shit.
And there's another thing they throw into this movie is that, of course, Loki had to have knowledge of other portals on Asgard that took you to other places, because it doesn't make sense that in the first Thor he was able to invite these frost giants into Asgard by using the Bifrost, with Heimdall sitting there keeping guard and everything. And so there's another portal now. They don't even need the Bifrost to go places. And it's the scene where they fly that ship through the mountain, and they end up exactly where they need to be by flying through this thing. That's another thing I don't understand. Like, there's just, they fly through this mountain. Okay, it's a portal too, but it just happens to be the Dark Elves place. Okay. Are there other places too that they could have gone, but they did? I don't know. I don't think they've even used anything like that since. There hasn't even been anything. And now Asgard's gone, so it doesn't matter. The curious moments I wrote down here.
The whole movie.
Yeah. The whole goddamn thing.
Well, here's one thing that they really do a bad job with as far as Thor's friends, who are a big part of the first one. Mm-hmm. In the second one, they help him out in this too. But they've sort of been reduced, and by Ragnarok, they don't give a fuck about them. They just kill them like willy-nilly. Like, who cares? Who cares? These guys weren't important to Thor. Thor doesn't even shed a tear for those guys.
No, he didn't even mention them later on.
Yeah, but
he's actually in Infinity War lists off all the shit he's had to endure and never once mentions those friends.
Yeah, exactly. And but it's a sort of a testament to how they've been treating female characters. Suddenly, Lady Sif, who's the one woman in his crew or whatever, who I never once thought in the first Thor was a romantic interest with Thor, or anything, was just another fellow badass like him, is suddenly like a jealous kind of lover, like would-be lover when she sees Jane show up on the planet.
It's fucked up.
And not that there's any like scenes where she's like, I always pined for Thor and blah blah blah. She's nothing like that, but there's like, although the camera always finds her and like, oh, her eyes are like, oh, I'm so sad. I wish I could have been with Thor too.
I think there's this is one of those things you're gonna have to research and send to us in the email. I think there's an offset story here with the actress who played Lady Sif and why she wasn't used more, specifically in Ragnarok or any of the like Avengers Ultron or.
Well, yeah, and I know that she's gone on to do 2 television shows since.
And that might have just been scheduling.
Yeah, one of them was that one where she's got all the tattoos all over her body.
Oh, is that her?
I believe that was
the blind
her.
spot.
Yeah, Jamie Alexander's her name.
I again, it's either scheduling conflicts or somebody pissed her off. But they couldn't get her for that, though, or at least not as like. I'm not even sure that she's in Ragnarok, and that like opening scene where we see people being killed. I don't think she's there.
She's not. She's not in there. Like, they just completely gloss over the fact that. And I said 2 shows, but she was really only on like 1 for a brief amount of time. The blind spot is the main one that she was on. But yeah, they make this sort of a love triangle thing, and I guess they wanted to take it somewhere, but they just never had a chance. Then
it's like she and Natalie Portman made this movie, and they were like, Marvel, I'm fucking done.
No kidding. Imagine saying that to Marvel.
The henchman that they infuse with the Aether or whatever, they call him Cursed with a K because, that's cooler.
Right.
Like Scourge.
Yeah, Scourge, yeah. He's able to punch Thor's hammer with his hand, cause it fly into a mountain. But later, Malekith is slammed by the hammer. And Malekith has all this power, too, so I don't understand. Don't understand the hammer thing, man. They've done a lot of things with these hammers. The hammer doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. And that's one of them. Being able to just swat the hammer into a mountain. Come on. Yeah, again, the final fight, Malekith versus Thor. Malekith is stronger. Again, this time it's the invention that Jane and Eric used to, send all of his parts all over the place.
Nice.
I wonder where his balls are.
Where they're in nowhere.
KNOW.
The collector has them.
The collector has them.
The end credit scene, there's 2 of them in this one. The mid credit scene, this is where they first talk about Infinity Stones.
Oh, okay.
This is with the collector. This is Benicio del Toro and everything, and Lady Sif and another Thor buddy I don't know the name of. They drop off an Infinity Stone, which we know is the Reality Stone at this point. And I say they shouldn't be in the same room as the Tesseract, but so we need to take it to this stranger.
Yeah.
It's real. I mean, really, honestly, when you take a look back at something like this, a scene like this, there's really no good reason to send it to anybody else in the entire universe. It's really just a scene so that people will go, oh, cool, the Reality Stone, fucking awesome. Even though it doesn't make any sense. You could keep those 2 stones in one place. It's supposed to be well guarded. It's as well guarded as any other place. But you're going to give it to a guy who could sell it to anybody?
And I'll go you one further. Because I read the internet, none of these movies have told me this, but I happen to know that the collector and the Grand Master from Thor Ragnarok are 2 of 6 or 7 of the most ancient beings in the universe. And that there are fan theories that 1 or 2 of these could be strong enough to take on a Thanos, if you will.
Interesting.
And so this is another area where I feel like it's a little bit of fan service. If you know the comics and you know the collector is like this ancient god, and so is Jeff Goldblum, apparently.
Jeff Goldblum is an ancient god.
Yes, he is.
I'm not on that train. I'm sorry. This is like the Bill and Ted 3 thing. I didn't tweet anything about it because I'd just get attacked, but I'm just like, ugh, why? Why this?
I know.
Why this?
I think they're fun.
All right. Anyway, sorry, got us off track. Apparently, maybe they took him the Reality Stone because they know he's one of 7 ancient gods of the universe or what have you, he has all this power, but the movies don't ever tell you that.
No. And he has this very sinister 1 down, 5 to go at the end of it, which, of course, he gets nowhere near.
Yeah.
He just wanted you to tell you how many there are.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the very last scene we just discussed, we talked about that. The little creatures jumping around in London. He's having a merry old time. And he's got a flat in London now, and he's got cable TV.
Maybe they had a whole Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode about tracking that thing down. And
maybe.
That'd be awesome if they did.
The Stan Lee cameo here is he's the guy at the old folks home or some mental health facility. Eric is there. So I don't know if it's an old folks home or a mental, but there's mostly just old people there. So I don't know, but he's there, and apparently Selvig took one of his shoes. So, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. This one's going to be the controversial one, folks.
Yeah,
because you like it now?
No.
Yeah.
No, I like it. No, I've always liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the problem. I don't like it as much as a lot of people do.
And a lot of people really do like it.
A lot of people put this number 1 on their whole thing. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the one movie I wrote more curious moments for than any movie.
Interesting.
It is fine. It is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the vibe of it. I like the idea that there's this corrupt government and that Cap is in the middle of all this, and he's just now realizing that, you know what? The government isn't the coolest kind of people.
That guy is not my type of guy.
Yeah. He's been living through all this the whole time believing that that it's right. The government is always right. I think he's, but maybe not that, but maybe he's got a system where he knows right and wrong at this point. And he's always known right and wrong, but I mean, he knows that even a government even the ones telling him what to do can be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like the setup of this.
Mm-hmm.
I like all the setup of this. Oh my God, there's so many things about this movie though.
I was so excited to see this movie.
Yeah,
Man.
What did you think about it the next time?
Well, I think you mean the second time I watched it?
When did you last see it?
Probably about a year ago.
Oh, it was a year ago. Okay.
When it came out, I was super anticipating it, and I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
As I was walking out, I was like, okay, like, why do I feel a little bit disappointed? I think I actually texted Chris, and I was like, so was that underwhelming at all?
Yeah.
And it surprised me because I did enjoy it at the time. I enjoyed it the second time I watched it. It's probably these curious moments that you're going to talk about that kept me from like really being gung ho on it. I liked all the stuff with Cap and Black Widow.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool. I thought the stuff with Falcon was really cool.
Yeah,
the relationships that he was building. I'm a sucker for any Robert Redford like evil overlord type of thing. But there's just shit in here that I guess the logic of it.
Plotting of this movie is my biggest problem.
Yep.
And in addition to Russo brothers not quite knowing how to film action yet.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to jump in, because when we talked about Infinity War, you made the true statement, that the Russo brothers had come a long way in terms of how they shoot action. And that, the opposite of that stood out to me. I watched Winter Soldier 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. Trying to prep for this podcast. Originally, I was going to watch all of the Phase 2 movies before this podcast, and you see how well that worked out.
It's hard.
It is hard, especially when I don't want to watch some of these again, like Thor: The Dark World. I'm never going to watch that movie again. But the action, especially the opening action on that boat, part of it is because it's dark, I guess. But what stood out to me was cut.
Yeah.
And all I leave a scene with is a general idea that Black Widow probably kicked a guy.
Yeah.
Maybe. And had some kind of doohickey with a wire. But I don't know what the fuck is going on in these fight scenes.
All you know is that ass is being kicked.
Yeah.
That's all you know.
Yeah.
And it's I know that for some people out there, and God, I've had a couple of Facebook arguments about this, don't care.
I know.
They don't care. As long as they see something cool, it doesn't matter if they can see the whole thing of it. And we're selling ourselves short out there, people. We are.
Yeah.
If they could just give us one of those, you don't have to be the Raid 2, but
Right.
just give me something that has like a minimum of cuts in it. Just what?
Well, there's a shot in Bourne Legacy, actually, a seeming one shot where he comes out of the bottom floor of the house, climbs up on the wall, goes on the roof, goes through the window, and sees Elizabeth Marvel at the bottom of the stairs and shoots her. All one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeming one shot. And if you can do that in something like the Bourne Legacy, you should be able to do it in these MCU movies.
Well, yeah, and that's, again, I think, man, come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
They've come a long way, and I've come a long way in my appreciation of their work and what they might do down the road. But we have to remember, at this point in time, their background was largely television. Mm-hmm. Their background was like Arrested Development.
Oh, that's right.
And so, I mean, didn't see a lot of fight scenes in Arrested Development.
Nope.
And so there's a learning curve, and I think I'm maybe the biggest like offender in the world, but I think we're too quick to decide that someone can or can't shoot action. Or can or can't shoot, comedy, whatever, horror, whatever it may be, just because they haven't learned it yet. They haven't gone along. You see somebody like Michael Bay, and I don't see any evolution in terms of how he wants to. I don't see an evolution there like I do between Winter Soldier and Infinity War.
Yeah, or James Mangold between Logan and Wolverine.
Or Night and Day and Logan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can get better at it. They definitely have. And I lost track of what I was saying. Oh, the action in this scene. Yeah. It's terrible.
Well, and the whole thing is a setup here. This is where Captain America's sort of distrust in the government really begins, is because Black Widow goes off and does her own thing. And it's really just to get this information onto a flash drive. Meanwhile, there's hostages that they were here to rescue and everything. And Cap's doing that, but she's doing this, and Nick Fury is like, don't worry about what she's doing, do what you have to do, and so on and so forth. This flash drive is the biggest thing about this movie.
That's saying something.
Yeah, it really is. The flash drive has got all this. The flash drive has what we will know as the Zola algorithm.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, and this Zola algorithm, we find out later, is able to figure out everybody in the world who could possibly be a threat to Hydra later. And that's going to lead to a curious moment as well. But that's what this flash drive is. When he goes back, he doesn't trust Nick Fury. Nick Fury's like, I only need to tell you what you need to know so that you can focus on your one mission while the other. So how can I focus on this one mission when you got another person doing another mission that you didn't tell me about, and so on and so forth. And so we find out sort of throughout this movie that Hydra has been sort of infiltrating every system of government throughout this whole thing. And Cap doesn't quite trust anybody at this point. In fact, he's got the flash drive when he's about to go see Redford. And he puts the flash drive in a vending machine.
Yeah.
Behind a whole bunch of bubble gum.
I still want
to know how this happened. See, he sees somebody stocking the vending machine. Does he go to that guy and go, "Hey man, I'm Cap America. Could you put this in here?" Or does he say, "Hey, could you keep that open? You can trust me, right?
Yeah.
I'll put this,
Do me a solid.
do me a solid." Exactly. He puts it behind all this bubble gum. There's 5 sticks of gum. And this is a place where I think people notice things like a fucking flash drive sticking behind bubble gum. And, but he puts it there because I think he realizes that if he does somehow get caught or like arrested when he goes to talk to Redford, he doesn't have that on him, and that he can tell somebody like Black Widow later where it is. Of course, Black Widow finds it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
She shows up to him just casually blowing gum, blowing bubbles and stuff. And like, it's like, okay, that drives me crazy watching him put that important of a flash drive in the vending machine.
Isn't it a hospital?
Yeah, it's it's at the Hydra headquarters, right? I don't.
Isn't it?
Well, it's just before. It might be at the hospital. I'm not sure, but I thought it was just before he goes to talk.
Okay, maybe
to Rev. It could be a hospital. I don't know.
Is this the movie where they attacked Fury and he's like out cold and they think he's dead?
Yes.
Okay, so it's wherever Fury is, which might be Hydra, or a Shield station, or it might be. I guess I always played.
And I may have been saying Hydra a whole bunch, but it's Shield, which is no different from Hydra at this point.
Right.
Where we go from here?
What about the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, the Winter Soldier in this whole thing comes in, and this is where he attacks Fury, because they know that Fury knows something.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a flash drive that they want, but Fury, we've gone ahead of ourselves. Fury ends up giving the flash drive to Cap before he supposedly dies and everything. But yeah, they think he knows something. Fury's like, "I'm not going to give you anything," or he says, "I don't know anything." But they know he does, so they go and attack his like Range Rover or whatever the fuck it is, and Winter Soldier ends up being one of them, one of the people who tries to kill him, and we know that's Bucky now, and so on and so forth. There's a point where he like burns a hole through the Range Rover and then goes down
with a tiny lightsaber
thing, which apparently they introduced in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we send it anyway because we don't give a fuck about what TV shows say. Yep. But he burned a hole through this thing, and he goes down the hole, and this might be in the curious moments, I'm not sure, but Bucky, Winter Soldier, goes over to the hole and goes, "Well, guess he's escaped."
He fucking looks at that hole and pieces out.
Yeah,
he escaped. But this happens on the reverse in the same movie when Cap is chasing Bucky, and Bucky jumps off the roof, and Cap runs to the edge of the roof and is like, "Well, I can't make that.
No, there's no way I can continue my pursuit.
I guess I'm done." When in the beginning of the movie, he jumps out of the goddamn plane without a parachute.
Yeah.
And it's actually a pretty fun moment. One of the things I wanted to comment about this movie is this is the movie where they took fun away from Captain America, because they saddled him with all this Bucky baggage, and then from here on out he's just dour. And then I get that that's intentional, he's going on that, but I don't know that the MCU gave us enough fun Cap.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning of Winter Soldier, he's fun as balls.
Yeah.
And the only time we've really seen him was the first Avenger. That's set in the past, except for the very end. And he only gets a few minutes to be fun. And this basically the running around with Falcon and then on the boat raid.
Right.
And from then on, he's got to be serious all the time, and it's just kind of sad because Fun Cap is awesome.
Yeah,
and everybody else gets to be fun. Thor got a whole movie of fun called Ragnarok, but they just put Cap on this path to sadness.
Even in those car riding moments when he's with Scarlett Johansson, you can tell he's starting to open up a little bit, and it's good banter. And then he gets just kind of this downward spiral after the. Yeah, I blame Bucky.
Yeah, I blame Bucky too, that motherfucker.
Yeah. So they end up after Fury has is attacked, and after Fury ends up giving Cap the flash drive, and after Cap goes to talk to Redford at the SHIELD headquarters and everything, and then he almost gets arrested, and then there's another whole big thing. They finally go to wherever this flash drive can be plugged in. It's they research or whatever. This is like an old SHIELD, old bunker, old
It's
SHIELD.
in Azerbaijan.
Yes.
Is that where it is?
No, I just wanted to pick an obscure name.
It's someplace, obscure. Probably like England or something. But no, they go to some bunker that SHIELD used to operate and everything, and they plug in the flash drive, and they find out that Zola is still alive in computer form.
Digitally.
Yeah.
It's like that Johnny Depp movie, Transcendence.
I was just going to make that reference. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
That movie is balls in
What
a
is
bad
it?
way.
Isn't it no, the guy that works with Nolan? He directed that.
Maybe.
It wasn't Jonathan Nolan, but it was Transcendence.
Transcendence. Yeah, I never saw that.
That movie's bonkers. And not
It's not a good one?
Not fun. It's not even bad fun. It's just bad.
They've kept Zola's brain inside these millions of early 1950s IBM computers or whatever the hell it is, and so he assures them essentially, you are talking to the Zola. I just don't have my body anymore. Zola then proceeds to tell them every fucking thing.
Yeah, man. I've got you.
Yeah, but this is all a diversion. Because there's missiles coming. Mm-hmm. But here, by the way, here's a bunch of information that's really useful to you later on. These bombs are coming, and I know you're Captain America and you've survived things like this before, but I really, really wanted to I actually want to tell you that there's missiles coming. Like, if he just didn't say there were missiles coming.
Exactly. They'd just be standing there.
They're fueling their missiles. We don't have time to fuck around.
It's Wally Pfister, by the way.
It is
Transcendence.
Nice. Every bit. I mean, this is the quintessential bad guy monologuing, right?
Yes.
Like, there's no good reason for him to tell them the information. There's no good reason for him to tell them that missiles are coming. And if he'd just shut the fuck up, they'd be dead.
Yeah, all he has to do is sit there and regale Cap with a whole bunch of just interesting information and something, and then suddenly, boom!
Yeah,
yep.
Or just tell him shit he doesn't know about Bucky, like where his birthmark is. And
this will. I'm going to go ahead and say this is a curious moment for Civil War later. There is the briefest. Oh my God! It's like a fragment of a second of how Howard Stark dies and his wife die, and that is the basis for Cap knowing how Tony's dad died. Is seeing that one fragment show up that none of us could possibly see during the middle of all this exposition dump. That becomes the basis for the big fucking battle at the end of Civil War.
Yep.
So yeah, after that, the Winter Soldier is tasked to kill Cap and Black Widow and all these people and everything, but they find Maria Hill. Actually, there's a big battle. They could kill Cap there, but they're like, there's helicopters around, like media helicopters.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it's the guy. God, I can't remember his name.
Frank Grillo.
Frank Grillo, yeah. Who takes them into a van, and they're gonna drive them off somewhere and kill them. And Maria Hill somehow infiltrated those vans.
Yes, she did.
And she waited. She waited for like a good hour until finally someone said something to somebody to knock out the other guard. I don't know. They escape through there, and then they find another, like, sort of, they find where they've been housing Fury this whole time. Fury is alive. They gave him some drug that made it look like he was dead.
Yes.
That's never been done before.
That's right. And
Like Romeo and Juliet.
yes.
By the way, I clicked on HBO the other day because Romeo and Juliet was on. And I was like,
Leo version?
Regardless of which version it is, either the Zeffirelli version or the Baz Luhrmann, like it'd be good to watch for 30 minutes or something like that.
Sure.
It's a completely different version from like 2013 or something like that.
Who's in it?
Paul Giamatti?
Is it in Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, he's not either the main characters, but he's like the
Is he the priest?
The priest. Yeah. That's the only scene that I saw because I was so pissed off that this wasn't either of the Romeo and Juliets that I wanted to see.
That's infuriating, isn't it?
so
To find out that there's like not only is it not the movie you thought it was, but there's this whole other movie that existed that you didn't even
and
know
it's
about.
fairly highly rated according to Rotten Tomatoes.
Interesting.
Fuck it.
Fury ends up telling them that they need to stop these big hovercraft things because there's these hovercraft things that Hydra is going to infiltrate these shield vehicles that they've built, and these things have these like unreal fucking repeated gunfire things on them, and they can like find using the Zola algorithm. They're using it to find all these people that are going to be problem for Hydra and just blow away millions of people with these things.
What a stupid plan.
Yeah.
That's a stupid plan.
Yeah.
God damn.
It ends up being that Cap need to get on these things. They need to change one little chip on all three of them. Need to change a chip on all this. And of course, Bucky's there, Winter Soldier. He's got to fight against his best friend and everything.
He gets shot the hell up in this final scene, too.
He does. And then Cap does the whole "I know the good is inside you" thing.
Never seen that before.
Yeah, exactly. And Cap ends up after getting shot a whole bunch of times, falls into the water. Bucky saves him. So
One-armed Bucky.
I'm gonna just read off how I wrote this
right.
in the notes for curious moments. It's a paragraph.
Okay.
Cap putting that flash drive in the vending machine. Maybe he thought there was no other safe place to put it before he talks to Pierce, but that seems reckless. Also, when Zola tells Cap and Black Widow how the ultimate plan was to fund these hovercrafts so that Project Insight could take place. So Project Insight is this thing where they're going to kill all these people and everything. He says that the ultimate reason Zola gives for getting the funding for this whole thing is that they've sort of infiltrated the media. They've gotten everybody to distrust each other and so on and so forth. But this thing wouldn't have even happened if it wasn't for the stuff in the Avengers. Nick Fury actually tells us that at the beginning when he's showing Cap all these hovercraft that they're using and everything. They would have never gotten to this point where they were able to kill a whole bunch of people if it wasn't for the Avengers and the aliens coming down. So all the stuff Hydra did up to that point would not have led to these hovercraft things. Let's see. The split second that Cap sees how Tony's parents died, which becomes a major sticking point in Civil War. And then I've said this a million times, the Emil Zola, that one random guy you threw off the train, let's go back up to the mountains and find him and turn him into the Winter Soldier. The exposition dump, we talked about that. Winter Soldier's about to kill Fury, but finds out Fury's burned a hole in the road. I think we've talked about all this. A Hydra agent tells Cap that the Zola. Oh, here's the one that I was going to talk about with the Zola algorithm. So there's a guy on the boat at the beginning was a Hydra agent all along. He was stuck in those hostages and everything. So they find out that he's a Hydra guy too, working in SHIELD. And so they have this guy on a rooftop. And he's like, the Zola algorithm, it tells us everybody who's going to be a problem for Hydra later and everything. And he mentions Stephen Strange.
Oh,
wow.
And I don't think any fucking algorithm is going to tell you that remember who Stephen Strange is at this point. He's a doctor, very self-obsessed. He doesn't seem to have any other kind of... He definitely doesn't have powers at this point.
So the movie is basically saying math can predict who is going to unexpectedly get bit by a spider.
Yeah, basically.
And that's not possible. And math doesn't work that way.
It was fun. I mean, I'm sure it was fun for people to hear Stephen Strange's name in this whole thing. But I don't think there's any algorithm on this earth that would have told you that this self-obsessed doctor who knows a lot of music trivia is going to become a big, like, a big
sorcerer.
Yeah, he's going to be anything that is a threat to Hydra. Maybe they think anybody smart is.
Yeah,
I guess that's a possibility.
Okay, maybe they're targeting all the smart people.
Maybe it's all smart people. I don't know, but I found that very, very, very.
Well, Ralph
curious.
Wiggum will be fine.
What's that?
Ralph Wiggum will be fine. I beat the smart kids. I beat the smart kids. Ow! I bent my Wookiee.
Yeah. There's no new powers in this for Cap. I make note that Black Widow has some sort of electric armband thing.
Oh,
She
yeah.
does. I wanted to make a note that in the opening fight with Kiki Guy, who I don't think I'm ever going to call him anything other than Kiki Guy, we have one of these moments of fisticuffs because they fight for a little bit, and then Kiki Guy says, "Thought you were more than just a shield." And Cap drops his shield and takes off his mask like, now we're going to fisticuffs it because my pride is on the line.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would he fucking do that?
Yeah.
He would never do that.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It just stood out to me as a stupid ass. Why do they keep writing characters to do this?
I don't know.
Oh, he's got a shield. He's going to take him out too easy. That's how it should be.
Let's not forget also that there's a big, huge final battle here where it's like Cap's up in the hovercraft and then there's Black Widow is in the SHIELD headquarters and you don't know she's in the SHIELD headquarters until she pulls off her Mission Impossible mask.
Yeah.
Because she's Robert Redford, right?
She's one of the other people that were a hologram earlier.
Yeah.
And they're there in person
they're
now.
about to toast to the end of hundreds of thousands of people.
Something like that. And so, like, yeah, that's something that seems like could have been useful. They could have used later on, those Mission Impossible, like, very, like, realistic masks. Like, it's even better than Mission Impossible's mask because it's like a digital, like, you can't even, there's no way to tell. And we haven't seen that since.
Man, I think Hydra, if they had that good of an algorithm, they should have just been biding their time waiting for Thanos.
Well,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, why bother taking on your enemies and shooting hundreds of thousands of people if in a few years an alien god is going to come down to Earth and try and do the same thing?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe they didn't know about Thanos.
But I'm saying their algorithm, if it could predict Dr. Stephen Strange would be a sorcerer, it should have goddamn predicted Thanos.
It probably should have. If it's that good, for sure. So the end credit scene here, there's a mid credit scene that shows that Hydra has Loki's scepter and therefore an Infinity Stone. Also shows it's been housing Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
All right, I forgot about that.
And they have also been created through the synthesization of the Mind Stone. So a lot of the stuff with the Mind Stone keeps coming. The Mind Stone is probably the most used of all the things.
Although I don't know if I'll ever understand why the Mind Stone gives her mind powers, but it makes him super fast.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, we see them. They're behind these little glass things or whatever, and you're like, oh, it's Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
And
Holy shit, and Olsen.
yeah. Then the very end credit scene is Bucky at the Smithsonian seeing his own little display. The Stan Lee cameo. He's a guard at the Smithsonian because Cap loses his uniform, so he goes to the Smithsonian and steals the old one.
After having gone through his own exhibit, right?
Yeah. I think
Why does he even have to have a uniform? Why can't he fight in jeans and a white T-shirt?
I don't know.
It's like the uniform is just cloth, right?
Yeah.
I'm being serious here. I'm not trying to be funny.
He's not the captain of uniforms.
Yeah.
They make a big deal out of it. Like, I lost my suit. I need a suit.
Yeah.
It's not like he's Tony. Tony can't go into battle without a suit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, it's time to talk about MUBI again.
Yay,
MUBI. Yeah.
Love these guys.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And this past week they put up an Orson Welles movie that I had not seen called The Trial, based on the Franz Kafka.
Yeah, that looks amazing. What'd you think?
Now, okay, so first off, this movie is very strange because it is shot like a dream. It is, and it's not like one of those, it's kind of like a dream, like Eyes Wide Shut or anything like that. This is very much like a dream. There's a scene, really interesting scene in there where he's he's watching a concert, and this is, by the way, this is completely like disconnected. This is Anthony Perkins in this movie. It's completely disconnected from what happened before it. Like he's like talking to somebody, and then suddenly he's at a concert. He's at a concert, and this woman comes up behind him and gives him a note, and he's like, okay, I got to go somewhere or whatever. He gets up and he goes behind, and you see the girl who gave him the note. And he's like, starts to walk down the aisle. And then this movie just very expertly cuts. And he's again looking for that aisle that he needs to find. And that girl's still there and everything. And there's just a lot of just striking imagery all the way through it. It is beautifully shot. It is one of those where Wells is also using I don't know if it's not really a low angle shot, but it's a little bit between low and medium, so you see the ceilings of everything. And like it's just the way everything is shot is just kind of like, whoa, okay, it really puts you in this sort of weird dreamlike, state, and the continuity is really just an interesting part of it.
Oh, God, that guy was such a freaking genius, man.
Yeah, and that's what you get through this whole thing. He primes you up for it at the very beginning. He tells you there's apparently and I've never read the trial before, but there's a sort of a fable or something that's in it where a guy goes to a guard. He's looking for the law. And the guy won't let him in the entire time. And this guy like sort of wastes away waiting to get inside this magical door of some sort. And by the end of it, the guard's like, well, I'm going to close this door. And he's like, well, wait a minute. This whole time this whole time I've never seen anybody else come up here. He's like, well, this door was always meant for you. You were the only one who could go through it. And then he closes the door.
Oh.
And he's like in Orson Welles is the narrator at the beginning and everything. He's like, some people may say that the narrative structure of this is like a dream. And so like everything after that is like a dream. Anthony Perkins going through he's accosted by some detective who tells him, you're under arrest. What am I under arrest for? They never say. Say. And so he keeps running in all these women. It's funny, like these women who are there to help him, but like almost every woman that's in this dream wants to have sex with him.
Oh.
Every single one of them. Yeah.
Sounds like one of my dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy, man. Like you think about Orson Welles and you think about Citizen Kane and The Third Man and stuff like that. And it's like a great director that you probably wouldn't access this movie, unless you really, really went out of your way to find it.
Now, The Third Man is Carol Reed. He was in the movie. He was in the movie.
Right.
Yeah,
No, I'm talking about movies that you associate with Orson Welles. This is not one that I've even heard of, but it's something that I really want to watch.
Yeah, this was 1962. It was right after Psycho for Anthony Perkins.
Before Psycho 2?
Yeah, before Psycho 2.
I've been on, they've got two new promotions that are coming out. One is called The Art of the Real. So they're doing these like really well done documentaries. And one of them takes place in Brazil. Similar type of neighborhood is in City of God. And it's about these two women that are just trying to get by, trying to do something with themselves in the slums of this Brazilian town. And it's raw and it's at times joyful. And this it's not a performance because it's a documentary, but the way these two women in particular come off on camera is striking.
What was this one called?
It's called Baronessa.
Oh, okay.
And it's really amazing. I definitely would recommend this. And then the next one that they're going to go into is a Cannes, as in Cannes Film Festival type of lineup. So it's going to be a lot of European directors, a lot of European films. And I cannot wait to watch it. One of them, I guess it's a spoiler, is a movie that I have seen that is gorgeous. Blue is the warmest color.
Oh, yeah.
I think that had some traction here
it did.
For various reasons.
It's kind of got some controversy attached now, too.
It does, yeah. But it is a gorgeous movie to watch.
Yeah, it's beautiful looking. But
knowing a little bit of the backstory.
One or both of the actresses have come out since and said that it wasn't exactly the friendliest set or environment for women.
Yeah.
But that movie, there's obviously a lot of, sexual intrigue to go watch that movie and everything. But what I came out of it going was, man, that was really good.
Yeah.
It's like something that every once in a while a movie like that comes out and you're like, okay, you just wanted to show us some naked girls or whatever. This one was really well done.
Yeah, and really well acted. The Adele X.
yeah.
You mean sometimes they make movies just with nudity just to titillate?
Yeah, I know. It's so weird sometimes, man.
Wow.
They don't have the art in mind. They're in it for the money, not the science.
Well, not every movie on MUBI has a lot of nudity, but there is some. Mm-hmm. There is some that has. Not every movie has Anthony Perkins,
right?
But there are some. So if you want to watch this wonderful, wonderful content with all the stuff that's coming up, with all the stuff that's on there now, go to MUBI.com/Cinemasins. It's MUBI.com/Cinemasins. You get 30 free days. It's a 30-day free trial.
Yeah, and it'll show you. It's designed to show you stuff that you wouldn't stumble across on your own.
Yeah.
If you want to sort of take your filmography to the next level in terms of as a viewer, and you're going to get 60 different options during that 30-day trial. I don't see any risk. There's no catch.
No, you're going to love it.
I'm not trying to fool you.
Yeah,
we like movies, and so does MUBI.
They love movies. They love movies so much so that they're at the Cannes Film Festival right now.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
some of them are. Some of them had to stay and hold down the fort.
Oh.
But yeah, they're completely into it. So we trust them. We can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
So MUBI.com/Cinemasins.
The next one is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And I think this is where Marvel movies start almost always becoming a sure thing, like like good, and just almost, even if you don't like it as much as everybody else, it's almost always solid.
It's because this is where they made the departure completely from DC, because they made it funny.
From Marvel. No, from DC.
From DC,
Yeah.
because they made it funny.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the funnier movies I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely probably one of the funniest MCU movies.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite of this whole phase 2 by far. And it really set off the fact that you can have these stakes and you can have these stories, but you can have a lot of humor stuck in there, and it won't detract from it. And you saw it perfectly in Infinity War.
Yeah, and now I say that because Ultron is still hovering around, so I don't know if I want to consider that.
But that was really the only departure, because Ant-Man gets back to humor, at least, regardless of how much we like it. And then the Phase 3 movie, or Phase 3 movies typically have some humor in it.
They have.
But yeah, you're all right. Ultron is definitely not in this vein.
Yeah. A lot to cover here, obviously, too. But Peter Quill, as a kid, he watches his mom die. He immediately gets taken into a spaceship, and now we're 26 years later. He's on some other planet, and this is another Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
And this is the what is this one?
Power Stone in Guardians of the Galaxy is purple because the Aether in Thor: The Dark World already took red.
Oh, and in the comics, the Power Stone is red?
Right.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's the Power Stone.
So we see him on this planet at the very beginning, going to take this. It's an orb for the most part, and we don't know that it's an Infinity Stone, and this is, I guess, the only way that normal people can actually carry this thing around and everything is by having the Tesseract, and here's the orb.
And this thing is casually fucked around, man.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful things in the universe, and it's just rolling down streets.
Kicking it on this old planet.
Yeah.
He goes there, and just so happens that, oh no, Jaimin Hansu and his crew is going to see it at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens, but anyway, he ends up getting away from them and flying off, and
And a very cool opening sequence, by the way. I loved this. Well, the opening sequence is of his mom dying, which is a huge bummer. But then he goes, he's all dancing to his Walkman and all that stuff.
I'll tell you what, him rap microphoning while he's dancing is probably going to end up being one of the most iconic images for me in the MCU, because that's just pure joy, that whole sequence in there where he's listening to the song, dancing, doing what he came to do, kicking rats, but using one as a goddamn microphone. It's awesome.
Yeah. Hey,
What's the
now he is his what we find out throughout the Guardians of the Galaxy arc is that his basic father figure is the Michael Rooker character. Who's
pissed off? He's pissed off at him this movie.
Yeah, he's pissed off at him because Yondu wants this orb because he wants to sell it, and divide the plunder among everybody or whatever. But Quill does not want to give it to him, and he wants to sell it for himself. So he goes to Xandar and tries to sell it to somebody. But then Quill has found out that Thanos, or actually the other guy, the other villain in this, wants
Ronan.
Ronan wants it. Ronan has a big kill boner for Xandar.
Right. Yeah, because they did something wrong to his ancestors or
and
whatever.
killed all of his, killed his father and his father's father and so on. We get the whole thing.
Is
on the
Ronan the accuser, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Silly.
But once this guy finds out that Ronan wants it, he's like, get the fuck out of my shop, Quill. So Quill goes out, and then now you have somebody who that Ronan has sent, which is Gamora. Gamora has come down to steal this orb. I don't think she's going to go and give it to Ronan later. I think she wants to steal it and hide it somewhere. But she wants to get it from Quill. Then you have Rocket and Groot are down on Xandar, and they just happen to see something that they can get a lot of money for, and they want it.
I'm sorry, let me ask you, why is Gamora, she's trying to get the orb for Thanos, right?
No.
Or is she already rogue from Thanos at this point?
I think she's already broken from him at this point.
Okay.
I think the whole reason she wants it is, now maybe they're saying she does want to give it to him. I don't know. I thought the whole thing was...
Now I'm remembering, isn't there a scene with Thanos, Nebula, and Ronan?
Yeah, Thanos has tasked Ronan to get the stone. He's tasked Gamora to get it. Gamora obviously isn't going to give it to Thanos.
Right. Oh, well, Ronan sends Gamora after the orb.
That's what I'm saying. That's why she's on Xandar at this point.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Like, Thanos giving people, the authority is weird enough. But then he says, Ronan, why don't you do this? And sends fucking Gamora.
Yeah, he's at this point, Thanos doesn't seem to really want these stones at all. He's like just handing one over to Loki and I don't really know if they know what his deal is.
I'm going to guess they don't, because I saw on Reddit, I didn't make this up or spot it myself. I don't want to take credit. But in the digital prisoner lineup scene where there's a laugh and Quill does the crank up FU, it says under Gamora, last survivor of planet whatever. But in Infinity War, we know that half of the people survive.
Do we know, though, that half people survive on that? Even though that was Thanos' thing, like, it felt like everybody dies behind.
I felt like, well, god damn, I thought the movie was pretty clear. I could be wrong. I only saw it the once.
That does become his thing, to kill half of everybody or whatever, but maybe the other half is somewhere off screen. But as soon as he tells her to turn around, they just blow away all those people behind her, and there doesn't seem to be anybody left. But who knows?
I thought they had only lined up half the people.
Maybe. But there's just not anybody alive.
Well, whoever posted it to Reddit agreed with me in their interpretation, because they were basically saying they clearly didn't know where they were going with Infinity War when they did Guardians.
It could be. I mean, I haven't looked at that scene close enough. I just assumed everybody died in that.
Now, I'm sure they knew. I'm sure the Marvel guys knew Thanos is eventually going to get the stones in the glove, because that's pretty much what he's known for in the comics. I think there are multiple story arcs of him trying to get the stones in the glove and the whatnot. But exactly how they were going to get there, I don't think they had worked it all out yet.
Yeah, and at this point, we don't know. We don't know that's maybe Gamora is going to bring it back to him. I mean, that is her motivation, but it seems to be by Infinity War, she's trying to keep these Infinity Stones away from people who can use them. And I get the sense that she would have gotten this from Peter and would have hidden it or flown away with it or something like that. So they all get in a fight over the stone. They end up getting taken to this prison. And then they all have they sort of just bond in prison. Rocket creates this whole prison break thing.
So great.
It's a great
love
prison
that
break.
whole scene.
Yeah.
I love the colors in this prison. Oh, man.
I still can't. I mean, I can't shake wondering why they all got to sleep on the floor in big piles.
Right? That is true.
Like, I ain't any kind of proper prison.
No.
But I do love the prison sequence. I almost said a second ago, this is where the movie really kicks in.
Yeah,
to
man.
high gear fun, and it just doesn't really stop.
You've
till the end.
got Rocket really going crazy with getting the guy's leg or arm or whatever it is, and you've got Groot showing off how powerful he is. It's just really, really cool.
Yeah. After they break out of prison and everything, they try to sell this stone to the orb to the collector.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of his dumbass assistants tries to touch the stone.
Yeah.
And it blows his entire lab or whatever, his store up in flames, essentially. Everybody survives that, by the way. It just completely blows up and everybody survives.
Yeah, the collector.
Except for the assistant.
Well, yeah, and the collector in his place.
Yeah, I guess the collector's gone too. Although no, he's not, because at the end there's that Howard the Duck fucking thing where he's still around.
Yeah.
So, so then Yondu comes along and takes him. Go ahead if you want to fill in gaps. I'm trying to get my bearings here. So,
Well, it kind of bothered me in Infinity War whenever they make the joke about how he saved the world with a dance party. Because he did, and he just distracted the bad guy with the dance party.
Yeah, he did.
He saved the world because they all were teamwork holding the stone.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I know they're probably just being funny, but sure seems like Quill believes he ended that with a dance party, and that's not what happened.
Dance off, bro. You and me.
yeah, so they're on this planet where they try to sell to the collector. His place goes up in flames, but then Ronan comes down and there's a big aerial fight, and eventually they take the orb.
And he kicks Drax's ass.
Yes, he does. This whole setup at this point is for Ronan to go down to Xandar and try to just destroy Xandar and everything. And this is something I didn't understand for the longest time. I didn't understand that him touching the stone to the planet was going to cause all this destruction and everything. But it seems like he takes forever to do that in this movie, where he all he has to do is just touch the stone to the planet and it blows up. But ends up in a huge battle at the end. It's got some neat stuff in it. The big like honeycomb shield that the good guys all create around the ship and everything. But yeah, this ends up dance off, and then they're able to take the stone and they're all touching it at the same time.
My favorite part is when Mazer Rackham does that move where he goes up to Mazer Rackham. Razor Rackham. What's his name?
I was trying to make Rackham is right, but I can't remember what that's from.
It's from the Ace of Butterfield spaceship movie.
Oh,
that's right, Ender's Game.
Is it Mazer Rackham?
Ben Kingsley.
Because the footage from that they keep showing in Ender's Game looks very similar to the space fight at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy.
That is very true. That's true.
Mazer Rackham.
I think that's his name. Yeah, that's right.
Sweet. Mazer Rackham the Accuser.
Yes.
I do like that dance-off scene, though.
Oh, I love it.
Because it so subverts all the seriousness that Marvel had built up. You know, Ronan, to this point, has been essentially invincible. And he's
it's very similar to Doctor Strange's ending in that they chose a humorous way to resolve their big boss. And it works. It works really well. Yeah.
That's where I think Ronan takes the longest, though, touching the planet. Is he's already on the planet. He's got the stone. All he has to do is just boom, and it's dead. Instead, he's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, would a guy even notice Quill in that situation? Yeah. Like a guy on that quest that close to completing the quest.
Yeah.
Would you see Mosquito?
Would you even care? Yeah, you wouldn't care. But oh well, everyone is amused. Evil's punished.
And he can hold on to it because at this point he's still half god, right?
Yeah, although they make it seem like he could just touch it by himself and no problem, but he ends up having to have all this help.
Yeah, because he was about to disintegrate, basically.
Yeah.
And he had to hold on to the other one.
Now, he does find out that he's half god right after this, because the Xandarians or whatever go and inspect his body, whatever the fuck. I don't know. They do some medical.
Looks like you got a little Kurt Russell in you.
Yeah, exactly. They say you have something ancient inside of you that we're not quite sure what it is.
It's a bone. It's a Kurt Russell bone.
Yeah, I didn't have any real curious moments in this one. This was other than Ronan not touching the stone to the planet.
Well, and part of it is that everything in this movie is just so goddamn bonkers that there's even less common sense here that you're applying than you would with something like Thor: The Dark World. Because I remember thinking the whole thing is weird in space. Like, doesn't he end up in space and survive like a really long time in space before the mask gets put on? And she has to kiss him or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That seemed a little stretchy to me.
Yeah, although it could be a half god thing where
they wrote themselves a perfect excuse.
They did.
God damn it.
I don't know. I was not expecting really anything when I went to see this movie, and I came out just beaming.
I don't think anybody was. It just looked like sort of an off-brand Marvel movie.
They could just take a swing. And then James Gunn, who had done nothing similar to this.
He did Slither, which is a fun, B movie.
Right.
He had done
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, he wrote Scooby-Doo.
He wrote Scooby-Doo, but he also had done what was the
he wrote Dawn of the Dead.
He wrote Dawn of the Dead, but he did that Rainn Wilson superhero movie. Super.
No, yeah.
He had done that, and then he wrote the Belko Experiment.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
But yeah, this is a fun movie. This is still probably, of the 19 movies, would you put it maybe in the top 5?
I would.
Yes.
I think so.
I would not put its sequel in there, but I would put this one.
Right.
Yeah, this one was just taking a risk and just swinging for the fences. It landed for me.
Yeah.
I had this was a theater-going experience. It took a while for this movie to be appreciated by me properly because I went to see it with my buddy Josh, and we watched like 30 minutes of it, and he got like some kind of 911 text from his wife. His kid was sick, and so he had to leave. And then like the next day, it may have even been like 6 hours later, everything was worked out, and we went back and watched it again. And so it's just whenever that kind of disjointed thing happens, I don't really get the full picture correctly the first time through. But yeah, man, it's awesome. It's probably, I might even put it in it's top 5 for me for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we can all try to rank these by the end of the time.
That'll be fun.
That. There's a post-script scene. It goes right after the title where Baby Groot is dancing in a pot of a pot.
Yeah, just a little pot.
Mm-hmm.
It's adorable.
Yeah, it's adorable. Every time Drax turns around to see him dancing, he stops.
By the way, I saw on Twitter today something fun as an aside. A teacher had given her students an assignment to pick a Marvel superhero and write their resume. Mm-hmm. Basically practice resumes. I guess probably like a middle school class, and some enterprising kid chose Groot and just wrote "I am Groot" all over the goddamn resume.
So great.
Experience "I am Groot," address great. "I am Groot," special skills "I am Groot."
He had to have gotten an A for that, right?
Yes, I think the post was basically saying I had to give this kid a good grade.
Yeah. The real end credit scene we already talked about. The Collector and Howard the Duck somehow shows up.
What's going on there?
I don't know.
Because, I guess on some level, Howard the Duck is a Marvel character in the comics world. I don't think they're publishing Howard the Duck comics or have been for a while. And, it's one of the most annoying things about the MCU in its entirety to me is this Howard the Duck thing. I don't get it. That was a shitty movie.
That was a really
Everyone
shitty movie.
hated that movie.
Yep.
Why are we winking at this?
I don't know. Just because it's maybe the one Marvel property that they haven't put in any movie.
I also read yesterday.
And he is an alien, too.
There's one superhero who's owned by both DC and Marvel. And his power is portal control, and his job is to keep the two comics universes from crashing into each other's worlds.
Really?
And there's even a couple of official crossovers that DC and Marvel published together where heroes from DC fight heroes from Marvel. And this character, this is his origin story, is that he shows up to stop them and keep them in their own universes. And I guess one of them, I don't know if it was DC or Marvel, but I think it was DC, just had him show up in 3 frames of a throwaway Green Lantern story arc or something.
Did DC have a character named Captain Marvel?
Well, yeah, that's Shazam.
Oh,
Shazam. Yeah, I don't pretend to know how that all worked out, who was first, who was second, but there were 2 Captain Marvels and one became Shazam.
Oh, okay. That makes most sense.
Yeah, and so if I had to guess, that probably mean Marvel had published it first and DC came on with their second. I don't know.
Or it could have been one of these issues where they came out with a Captain Marvel and Marvel was an existing property at the time, and they're like, isn't that confusing?
Oh yeah, we want to change it ourselves because we don't want to give our competitor.
Yeah. The Stan Lee cameo, he's a ladies' man on Xandar. Rocket sees him through binoculars and whatever.
So he's dead now?
Yeah, exactly. the next one is the Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Ugh.
In the bottom 5 for me.
Man, I was looking forward to this movie a
Yeah.
lot because I love James Spader, and I like his whole his cadence of his voice and all that stuff. The first Avengers, I loved to pieces. I was super excited after Guardians of the Galaxy. How did they fuck up this movie? Joss Whedon was back.
That's how
did
they
fuck
fucked
this
it up
movie?
because they clamped down too hard on Joss.
They had to have, right? That's
He's been
essentially
pretty open
proved.
about
Yeah.
it. That a lot of the Thor cave stuff and the farm stuff was sort of foisted upon him, and he didn't really have as much say as he wanted. I think the Thor cave stuff, he actually wanted to go further.
Well,
with
he
that.
did actually. I think he actually filmed it, and they didn't. It was a 3-hour cut at the beginning, and they had to cut out almost everything that made that cave thing make sense.
Yeah.
He could have just. You know what? I feel like in that, though, they could have just said, I need to go figure out what's going on, flown off, and then never shown him until he came back later. Although, even why he comes back, it would not be explained. I guess that's why they have to show the cave scene, is to show he's learned something that makes him want to go back to Earth. This movie.
Does he bring the Mind Stone with him?
No.
How does Vision get the Mind Stone?
The Mind Stone is already down on Earth.
Right.
This is okay. So by the end of Winter Soldier, and this is something we sort of skated over on the end credit scene. Fury and Shield is still kind of trying to operate without buildings and all that. They started basically running out of a van or something like that. And he's like, Fury's like, I noticed a lot of Hydra agents out there that we still need to get and everything. And that's when it leads to the one guy who's like Hydra's got the scepter, and they've got Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and all that. They've been synthesizing this thing. That's the Mind Stone that's in the scepter.
Okay.
So at the very beginning of Avengers: Age of Ultron, that's the base that they're attacking.
Right. Okay.
They're attacking this Hydra base that has all this stuff, and they've been synthesizing this Mind Stone and everything. During this battle, obviously they're going to win, but Scarlet Witch invades the mind of Tony. Tony sees the future. Tony sees Captain America dead, Shield broken, everybody's dead. Gets him the idea that he needs to build a system that will protect the entire planet. So yes, they take the Mind Stone, and it's supposed to be sent off somewhere, but while it's being kept in this one spot or whatever, Tony and Bruce both what can we do with this technology and everything, and they end up trying to build this thing, and they build using Jarvis and using all their stuff.
There's a lot of yada yadaing.
There really
is in this movie.
Ultron becomes self-aware, attacks Jarvis in the internet, and then he sends himself off to Sokovia.
Well, yeah, that's funny.
Secunda.
Yeah, Secunda. Going to Sokovia. He sends himself there. He's just sort of in the internet, but he can infuse all these fucking robots and stuff like that. This causes a rift with the Avengers, because he's been doing this in secret with Bruce this whole time to make this protective system and everything. He hasn't told the other Avengers that's what he's doing. There's all this distrust now, and there's and so there's a sort of a rift between them, and
it's boring.
Yeah,
it's boring, and it sucks, and you can tell. Just these things that piss me off about it. The CG in the opening battle, that is just, we should be past this at this point. It's so horrible. And then the storyline, there's that point where Tony's like, please let there be a secret door. Please let there be a secret door. And there's a secret door. And it's like, God damn, everything is lazy about this.
Yeah, and nothing's ever going to bother me about this movie more than that final battle, and that feeling like one of those music videos where they obviously couldn't get Ariana Grande and Nicki Minaj on the same set for some reason. And that's what this final battle feels like, in how many shots are close up tight. And you've articulated it far better than I have before. But here's Thor swinging his hammer. Vision flies by with a beam. Iron Man does a hand push. And it's just like 8 minutes of that.
Instead of them working together like they did in the original.
Exactly. Yeah. And them working together has become, let's stand in a circle with our backs to the inside of the circle.
Yep.
And we'll all do our own thing. And this killer, sentient, AI genius, badass villain, we boil this movie down to a bunch of mindless bots, pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We just have to if we take out enough of the pawns.
Yeah.
I mean, goddamn, you had to build a Vision to do that? The movie makes it feel like Vision is a necessity. We gotta create this thing. It's gonna help us, or we can't take out Ultron, and then he's just another guy punching things.
Exactly. Yeah, he's punching things, and then Ultron dies like 3 times. Seriously, 3 times.
Yeah, he does kind of.
He gets killed by Cap and Tony. He gets killed by Vision.
He gets killed in his robot form or whatever, and he's always in the internet.
Yeah, he's always go to.
That's the thing. He's never dead that way. Like if you kill the physical form, he's always still in.
And what is his plan? He's going to lift a chunk of this rock up into the air and drop it like an asteroid.
It'll be like it'll
cause
be
a nuclear winter.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Seems
now the reason why this is put into motion is, first off, he doesn't see. He wants to. He was built to save humanity, but his computer brain has gotten to the point where the logic is killing all of you is like saving you.
Yep.
For whatever reason, that's his computer logic. So
it's Thanos logic.
Yeah, it is. It is. So he goes. The first thing that Ultron wants to do is steal vibranium, which he knows that this Ulysses Claw guy, which is Andy Serkis, has a bunch of. So he takes Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, who, that was another thing that I didn't understand. He goes to Sokovia, and he's in this robot form or whatever. I don't know how he called this meeting with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Did he send
You sent him an email.
Yeah, did he send a like a Western Union or something? I don't know what it was.
Come to me.
But they knew to go to this church where he's in the middle of this, and then he starts giving them the history of the fucking church. This is one of the things that I always can't stand about villains in movies is like, they built this thing in 1857 when blah blah blah, and it's all set up to this sinister shit that he's about to do.
This church.
Yeah. But yeah, they go and they find Ulysses Claw on this boat or whatever, and the Avengers find out that he's going to go there, so there's a big fight there. Scarlet Witch invades the minds of almost everybody except Hawkeye.
Yeah, he's already been there.
Yeah, Hawkeye's like, I've already done the mind control thing, so therefore I cannot be mind controlled.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. After this is where the farm thing happens, because everybody has their mind's been invaded. They all have these visions of the future that are troubling to them. They go to the farm, and like Thor's like, these horrible visions I've had. I'm gonna have to he flies to London.
Yep.
And Selvig, is like, here, go into this pool. It can hurt you, but go ahead and do it. I don't even know why he knows about the pool. We haven't even heard about the pool at this point. It's the most dumbfounding scene I've ever watched in a movie. I watched this, I think, on opening day, and I watched it in IMAX, and I was like, this is the most confusing scene I've ever watched. And they never come back to it until Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Even then, they don't really go back to it. They don't really,
just like, I've been searching for this thing for a while.
Yeah. So the thought to build Vision comes into all this whole thing. They have Jarvis was crushed by Ultron, so they want to revive Jarvis. There's this other lady building some sort of like regenerative serum of some sort, like it can heal limbs and all that. So they infuse that into him. They use the Mind Stone, and then Thor comes down like he wants Vision alive because of all the stuff that they didn't show in the movie. He comes down, and with the lightning he creates, Vision comes to life and everything.
And it holds the hammer too.
Yeah,
he's
able to hold the hammer, and I guess it's because it was part of that electricity that went through him and everything. But and then you're right. Vision just becomes another. Yeah,
he's set up to be this absolute, like, perfect ethereal figure, the only foil for Ultron. And then he's just part of the team. Instead of just send Vision to do it, And we'll even hang back here.
This is I know I talk too much about the powers not being explained, or at least the comparative nature of the powers. But this movie sells you a vision that no future movie ever pays off.
Mm-hmm.
It sells you Jesus Christ in robot superhero form. And in future movies, he's just Thor, Captain America.
Yeah.
He can fly.
He can go through shit, right? Like he could go through walls and everything?
Not if he gets stabbed with something and then can't phase anymore.
I don't know, man. I don't know. This movie's a fucking mess. Are we alone on this?
No,
by the way?
I think even most Marvel fanboys who would love the movies we don't, like Winter Soldier and Civil War, are down on Ultron.
Yeah.
I think it's generally considered a misstep.
Okay. Yeah. And I wanted to like it, like I said, man, but
well, one of the biggest problems is that you made you created a villain that shouldn't be quipping.
yeah,
And
exactly.
Then you cast James Spader, so you had to write him to be quippy.
Mhm.
And imagine, like, Hal is menacing in 2001 because he's not quippy.
Yeah.
He's polite. He talks like a computer that's harmless and not anything you should be afraid of. And it's the things he's saying and doing that are terrifying.
Mhm.
And they could have taken that angle with Ultron instead of making him have all these zingy one-liners.
There are no strings on me.
By the way, the one detail that I've missed in this whole plot thing, because I was talking about the vibranium and how he gets the vibranium, and I thought in my mind, because it's been a while since I've seen Age of Ultron. It's been a few weeks now, and I'm like having to remember all this stuff. He wants to get the vibranium to create this new being, which is going to be Vision. This is going to be the container. He's got it in a container. Vibranium being. He's going to use this
But he wants to put his own brain in it,
He wants
right?
to put his own brain in it. He's going to have this regenerative quality to it and everything, and then the Avengers go and take that away from it.
Okay.
So that's what it was originally going to be. But then the actual plan later after that is to use the vibranium to weight this land that Sokovia is on or whatever to be able to crash it into the earth. And
Question, why didn't he just mind hack the nukes?
I don't know. He's got access to everything.
Or, I mean, fly into space and find an asteroid and throw
There
it at
are
Earth.
a million ways that he could fuck up the Earth that don't involve
Lifting up a chunk of some
And
Eastern European
yes.
countries.
let's not forget too, once he gets this thing up in the air, all he has to do is touch the little thing in the center, and it goes to the ground. It falls and it kills a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he even at one point is like, well, I could do it now, and that would kill so many people, but I'm going to wait. And like, this is while during this whole battle, and eventually he even gets to the part where he wants to be, and he can just touch it. All he has to do is touch it, and he doesn't. The battle at the end of this thing, we had already discussed this before, but yeah, this is where I check out. You might like seeing Hulk do that, and Thor is doing that, and Captain America is doing that. I don't. You got to show me, you got to give me a sense of place here. You got to show me this action happening without like fucking 40 million cuts going on during it. And this happens a lot in this.
Yeah, the cuts, the CG, like the close-ups, just everything is almost like unnerving about it, you know? Like it's not like you're sitting down like glued to the screen. It's like, the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. And by the end of it, though, the way they solve this problem is that Thor does something with his hammer I don't really get it.
Yep.
He does something with his hammer. He does that whole like the thing where he slams the hammer and they're trying to break it into pieces.
Right.
Iron Man, meanwhile, is at the top. He's doing something. But yeah, it requires Thor to do his thing and Iron Man to do his thing, and they break the thing into a whole bunch of pieces so that it's not one big piece to fall down.
And they still end up killing a lot of people, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
That's
Civil
the Sokovia
War.
Accords, right? Yeah.
Because almost this is where all the comic book movies, by the way, DC and Marvel, start being self-conscious about And this is it becomes off so fake.
It does.
Yep.
Both of them too.
Yeah, because in the first Avengers they had no qualms of Hulk going around smashing 50 buildings with innocent people in them, all for your amusement.
And Batman v Superman has like 11 different news people talking about how empty the downtown area is right now.
Yeah,
everybody is gone.
Yeah, don't worry about those fake people. Okay, so curious moments I wrote on here: the Thor interlude.
How about sudden Linda Cardellini?
Yeah, who for some reason Hollywood considers worthless, I guess. Because they put her in Daddy's Home.
Yeah.
She's worthless in that.
Yeah.
She's in Scooby-Doo.
She's in Scooby-Doo.
She's not giving
What is
anything
she
to
in
do
this?
here. She's
Hawkeye's
Hawkeye's
wife.
wife.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye has a wife.
Yeah.
That's another.
Of course.
By the
Clint.
way, this is a thing that they've sort of put a thread through that they haven't really, and I guess they're waiting to see if they're ever come out with a Black Widow movie or whatever, but Black Widow and Hawkeye have this relationship from the past where Hawkeye was sent to kill her and he ended up not doing it. That's never explained why it was okay for him not to do that. But they become friends, and so that's why when Black Widow goes to their residence and knows the kids and all that, and she's like, name your kid Natasha or whatever. But yeah, there's a thread there that hasn't really quite been like fully explained
It's
yet.
also like, because she's got attractions with Captain America and Hulk at this point. It seems like in Civil War that they started potentially in a romantic.
It's in Winter Soldier where where they first have the thing where they're going up the escalator and she's like, kiss me and all that. But I never got the sense that there was a thing happening though. I don't know why. It just doesn't seem like. Now she does sort of allude to it later on in is it in Civil War?
I don't know.
It might be in Ultron that she alludes to it, and no, it's in Civil War because the daughter, the niece of Agent Carter is the love interest in Civil War, and there's a point where she makes some sort of like comment like that she's done stuff with Captain America or whatever. And
Well, I'll blow your mind further. At the very beginning of Winter Soldier, right when Cap meets Falcon, they've just met. She pulls up because Cap has to go on a mission, and Falcon bends down and does like a Joey from Friends, like, how you doing? And she's like, hey. And then she drives off, and it's played as a total, like, we don't really know who she's going to end up with yet, so we're going to have her flirt with a bunch of different people.
yeah.
But she definitely flirts hard with Bruce.
And that's one thing we forgot to mention with Winter Soldier, because I think they've sort of stuck Falcon to this. He's not a great character at this point, really. I mean, his story is good. The story of him being in the Avengers is good, but his flights, he's an Iron Man with wings.
With wings. And guns.
Yeah, everything he
And
does
bombs.
is what Iron Man does, essentially.
Yeah, well, just watch Infinity War. And he and Rhodey are both flying over the battle doing essentially the same exact fucking thing as each other.
Yeah, so there's really no point in him having this Falcon outfit anymore, because there's nothing to it that Tony couldn't just give him a suit for.
Right.
And of course, we'll get into Spider-Man Homecoming and all that when, he's got a suit as well. It's almost getting to the point now where you're like, you could just put anybody human in a suit at this point and just be all Iron Man.
Yep.
There's got to be. I wish they had made sort of a sort of a fail-safe here where not just anybody can get in these suits.
Yeah.
Something that maybe G-forces or some shit like
Well,
that.
Falcon used to be a fighter pilot. I guess that's how
Yeah.
they...
You could easily early on have just made Tony build these things out of one of these rare Marvel precious metals, adamantium, unobtainium, vibranium, and then it would be a limited thing, so he couldn't just build a million suits forever and ever. And I don't know, that it does sort of feel that way.
And Vision is just another Iron Man.
Yep.
It's just another Iron Man.
Yep.
I wrote down there's so-called new powers in this. Iron Man has the ability to shoot a beam out of his chest now, which I had never seen before.
It's his Care Bear stare.
Yeah, yes,
It's
it
his
is.
Unikitty.
It is. Scarlet Witch, who we were just being introduced to at this point, can control minds. She can shoot some sort of red energy out to kill people. Quicksilver is obviously insanely fast. Of course, we've seen him in 2 different iterations.
And this is the much worse version.
Yeah.
And the much more Romanian version.
Yes,
and the much more dead version.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, indeed. Spoiler, Barrett. Spoiler.
Yeah.
God damn.
And in this one, they give Black Widow some more electric shit that she can wear. She's got electric batons in this one.
Probably also introduced on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I could give a rat's ass.
Right. End credit scene. So the mid credit scene is the only end credit scene, which is amazing. Features Thanos grabbing the gauntlet and saying, I guess I'll have to do this myself.
Yeah. Which, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, exactly. The Stan Lee cameo. He's the World War II veteran who drinks too much at the Avengers party and is carried out. And then, shockingly, Ant-Man ends phase 2.
That's such a bizarre, weird thing.
I don't know how they came up with
I think it was the scheduling as much as... Because in most cases, the phases kind of feel natural from a storytelling perspective, or at least from a emotional beat kind of perspective. And it feels like Ultron should have been the end.
Ant-Man obviously was supposed to be Edgar Wright. He is still credited in this. Peyton Reed directs this movie, but there's a big number of writers on Ant-Man. Edgar Wright, Adam McKay, Paul Rudd, Joe Cornish. They're all part of the writing team on this. But I just wish we could see the Edgar Wright version of this.
Simon Pegg, did he write any of it?
No.
Because he usually does a lot of tweaks on Edgar Wright stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Usually one of the writers.
I think so, but not in this case.
Interesting.
Unless it's uncredited and nobody knows about it.
Could be.
So this is Scott Lang. Paul Rudd is playing Scott Lang. He gets out of prison. His buddy Michael Pena tells him about this job. He's like, I don't want to do that. I want to see my daughter. I want to have a good life. I want to So he wants to see his daughter. The stipulations that his wife, Judy Greer, another wasted actress, who they just keep on putting in movies, and I'm like, I love Judy Greer, and then they don't do anything with her at all. She's the wife that she's married to Bobby Cannavale now. But she tells Paul Rudd, if you get a job and you have an apartment, you can see your daughter more regularly. And so he works at Baskin Robbins at the very beginning of this. And the manager, this is maybe the funniest scene, one of the funniest scenes, aside from the Michael Pena stories that happen in this. But the manager takes him back and is like, you have a criminal record? Says, you said you didn't have a criminal record on there. He's like, oh man. And he's like, that's badass. The manager's like, that's badass. And he's like, you did all this stuff. And Scott Lang has this story where he stuck it to the man, essentially. He's considered the bad guy, but really the corporation he screwed was the bad guy in this whole thing. But the manager's like, he's like, what? And Paul Rudd's like, well, thanks for being so understanding. He's like, oh no, you're still fired.
Totally fired.
So Scott Lang decides, all right, well, I guess I'll do this job that Luis told me about and everything. So it becomes sort of like a heist movie. And so they go to what is Michael Douglas's home. Michael Douglas, what is his character? Hank Pym.
Yeah.
Plays so he goes to that house and there's 2 safes in there. Both of them are equally uncrackable or whatever, but he finds a way through science and all sorts of stuff to get into the
science.
That's right. He finds a suit in the safe, and there's no money, there's no jewels, there's nothing. They're like, well, I guess that was worthless. But then Hank but when he tries to return the suit, trying to be a good guy and everything, it turns out that his daughter, played by Evangeline Lilly, has called the cops on him, and he goes to jail and everything. But Hank wants him because he knows that he's ideal for being in this suit and everything. Breaks him out of jail, tells him how to use the shrinking technology and everything, and he gets it because he's wearing the suit at the time that he goes into jail.
Yeah.
The main story here, Corey Stoll's our bad guy in this one.
I love Corey Stoll.
I do too. He plays Darren Cross, and he's trying to find the same formula that Pym came up with.
Iron Man versus Iron Man.
It is. This is going to be a same versus same by the end of it. Even though, he's a hornet or whatever the fuck he is. So like he's trying to synthesize this whole thing, and he keeps making mistakes, and he's getting more and more like evil as he goes along, because he's like using sheep, and like he's like in a scene where he shows the sheep or whatever, it turns into this like just global, pink globular mass or whatever. He's like, all right, bring in example number. It was like
it annoys me that he gets so evil at the end of this, because Corey Stoll is such a good actor, and at the beginning that character has some nuance to it. He's got kind of a history with Evangeline Lilly. He's got a big history with Hank, and it's like, could you not make it so over the top at the end of this? Like, does it bother you?
Well, and just like anything, it's the stuff that he's using is causing him to be more and more insane.
Oh, that's right.
It's a classic Hallmark Marvel thing, that the science that you use on yourself is going to exacerbate all your insanity.
By the way, neither here nor there, but I recently learned that in the Marvel Comics, Hank Pym is every bit as much of a genius as Tony Stark and Peter Parker. And in the comics, Hank Pym created Ultron.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
There you go. Little nugget of comic.
That was something that was just like that was a big thing when Ultron came out. Was like people were like, Tony didn't build this.
Yeah.
Hank did. Pym's daughter, her name's Hope. She works at.
Why would you, if your last name starts
you
with
would never
P,
do that.
Why would you end your first name
you
with
would
the
never
P
do that.
sound?
Hope Pym.
I'm totally on board.
Hope
Pym.
Although I don't know if she even uses the Pym name because they had a falling out.
She goes by her maiden. Wait, she goes by her mom's maiden name.
Solo.
She goes by Elf.
Yeah, she goes by Hope Van Deen or Hope Van Dyne or whatever. In this.
But
you're right. Before the falling out, she was Hope Pym.
Yeah, dumb.
But she's still working at the company, and the reason why Hank doesn't work at the company anymore is because there was a big board meeting, and she was the deciding vote, and she took Hank out of the company. So they have a I don't know if it's an estranged relationship. At the very beginning, it might be the first time they've seen each other in years, but mainly because she knows that Darren Cross is up to no good, and she needs his help. And there's another strain in the relationship that he never tells her what happened to her mom and everything, which is another just a dumb scene, because he ends up telling her, well, we were both these tiny soldiers and we were on a nuclear warhead, and she decided to go between the atoms, and you can't recover from that. And all that, and she's like, why didn't you tell me? Because I was trying to protect you.
Yeah, what the fuck?
And you're like, protect you from fucking what?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, were you more likely to want to be in the suit and use the technology if you heard about your mom dying, or would you be less likely if you heard the truth? Apparently, dying in a plane crash is so much easier to hear about than, well, she used this weird technology that I'm responsible for. I guess. I don't know. I'll never understand that I was trying to protect you reason.
Does the end of this movie and what Scott does signify that the mom is coming back?
No. It's signifying that she's going to be wearing the suit, the Wasp suit.
But I mean, in the finale of this movie, Scott goes between the atoms,
and
manages to come back.
But because he has that new technology with him that allows him the little pill thing, the little button.
But if he could go in there again and find her, couldn't he? If she's
still alive,
you're talking about something that is as vast as the universe.
No, I agree. I just know I've read that quantum space that he goes into is like time doesn't matter there.
That's true, and the trailers point to Ant-Man and the Wasp using that subatomic universe quite a bit.
And using the embiggening all over the goddamn place.
But I guess it's possible. Sure. I mean, I don't think that's what that ending.
Okay, I guess I must have read too much into that then.
I think it's possible that they could run into her and everything. You would have to then. Yeah,
she's still in there somewhere.
If she's still in there, then she's probably. If time doesn't matter, then
she's bitter as hell. Oh wait, if time doesn't matter, it's like a blink.
Well, she'll be like,
oh, she's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Michael Douglas is going to get his wife back from 30 years ago. He's going to get to have sex with
That's right.
a hot young wife, and he's like 70.
That's right.
That's
she's
awesome.
She's like Mal in Inception.
She'd be like Catherine Zeta-Jones all over again.
She's like Mal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of like Mal.
Yeah.
So the idea is to infiltrate the PIM building essentially, and to steal this technology so that Darren Cross can't use it. But Cross is on to them in a very strange scene. This is after Scott has learned the suit quite a bit, and of course we have this big montage thing where he's jumping through the keyhole. He's going down in the ground doing the Honey I Shrunk the Kids thing, and he's he's commanding ants to do what they want. There's like a million different kinds of ants who all do million different kinds of things, so on and so forth. By the end of that, where they decide they're going to, and there's sort of an Avengers connection where he's gone to the Avengers headquarters now in upstate New York. He has that fight with Falcon. He steals some sort of thing from from what I understand, because they show it on the blueprint what he steals, but it helps them out with the whatever they're going to do. And I think it's like to cut off the alarms or something like that. It's some sort of technology that sends off some signal or something and cuts off the alarms in the place, something like that. It's really more of an excuse to just get the Avengers involved in all this and show him fighting Falcon, having a little comic relief with him being tiny and Falcon like looking for him and everything. But after all of that, in one of the strangest scenes of the movie, they're all talking about what they need to do next to go into Pym's headquarters and everything. And Hank goes to his bedroom and Darren's just hanging out in the bedroom, like flipping through magazine or something like that. And like, they're like, does he know what we're planning? Of fucking course he does. Why would he just be hanging out in the house? And so they still continue with this whole thing. I guess figuring, if he knows or whatever, I don't know. Paul Rudd ends up getting caught in this like little glass thing at the end, and Darren's going to sell this to. He says, "I'm selling this to Hydra. They're different these days, or whatever." And so there's still some Hydra agents out, and they know about this technology, and they've gone to Darren about it and everything. And then they get on a helicopter. There's an Ant-Man versus a Yellow Jacket fight. They fight inside like the bottom of the helicopter or whatever, and there's like a wallet and keys and all that flying around. But yeah, they have that whole big fight in his daughter's room and the Thomas the Tank Engine and all that.
That's just fun. I think that's a fun part of the
No,
thing.
it's fun.
It's ridiculous that he's so maniacal, and I guess it's because of all the gobbledygook he's been eating or whatever, but he's like, I'm going to kill your daughter if you don't do this. And it's like, really, dude? I mean, you're going to kill this daughter. You're going to kill this daughter.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
The like cutest kid in the world.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And then he ends up going between the atoms to go inside his suit and be.
It's the don't cross the streams, basically.
It really is, and he's has no idea what to do, but then he has got that thing that Hank made, and he's able to get embiggened again, and that's Ant-Man.
That's Ant-Man.
Yeah,
Enjoyable movie.
It is enjoyable. It's got some funny parts. The Luis scenes, especially when he's going back through all the things that this person said to this person said to this person said to this person. Those are the most Edgar Wright inspired scenes. We're all pretty sure.
I think that Thomas the Tank Engine thing was right in his wheelhouse too.
Yeah.
And it still plays pretty well, but I think his visuals would have kicked it up just that extra notch. I mean, honestly, I'm not even like the biggest Edgar Wright fanboy. I don't even think I've seen all of his movies, but I want the version that he would have made.
I know.
I think it would have
been cool.
So much closer to the way I feel about Spider-Man Homecoming and Guardians of the Galaxy, instead of just being okay. But it is what it is.
Yeah. And the end credit scene, there's a mid-credit scene that shows it's a scene from Captain America Civil War. It's that, Cap and Falcon have Bucky, and Bucky's like handcuffed to the whatever they have. They got him in some factory or something. And they're like wondering whether or not they need to tell Tony. It's just a straight up scene from Civil War.
Nice.
And this is the first time I think they've shown just a straight up scene. They did it later in one of the other movies where they do a scene from Thor Ragnarok. I think it's Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it's at the end of Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange has the scene where it's him talking to Thor, which later is in Thor Ragnarok. But yeah, it's a straight up scene from Civil War. Then the very last scene is Hope finding the Wasp suit, so we know that Ant-Man and the Wasp is coming out.
Yay!
Stan Lee cameo here. He's the guy at the bar and confirms Luis's friend's girlfriend is hot. Because there's like it's like, hey, look at that girl over there. She's mad hot, right? And and he's like, yeah, really hot. Stan Lee.
Nothing creepy about that.
No,
I don't know if there's ever been a Marvel movie besides maybe Thor: The Dark World that I'm looking forward to less than Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I think the reason I came up with my crack insane theory that it's going to go back to Infinity War was to give myself an excuse to care.
Yeah, I know.
Because I already don't like Ant-Man isn't bad. Dark World is worse than that. Ultron is worse than that, but it's not good enough for me to care. I'm not excited about this. Then you show me the trailer where buildings become suitcases and toilets become buildings, and I'm just like, okay, I officially don't care.
Yeah.
Anything. Literally anything is possible if you've got that technology and you can just throw it on anything you want.
I hope it does do some sort of parallel thing with Infinity War. It probably won't. You think?
It will.
Oh, okay.
I have theories. I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay. Well, again, that would be my reason to care too. Otherwise,
well, I don't think this movie's going to do much, but I think Ant-Man is going to be pivotal.
Interesting.
I think the end credit scene on Ant-Man and the Wasp will be what I want the movie to be. Some hint of him tying into Avengers 4.
Phase 2 is where everything got more confusing. There are so many things going on now. There are Infinity Stones. There are the world has been opened up to the entire universe at this point. And there's just so much going on, and just the movies within themselves are just confusing. If you just look at the self-contained Thor: The Dark World and all that, I mean, it's just a struggle trying to remember what happened to them. And then you got to go through all Winter Soldier's conspiracies and all that are going on. Hydra's shield now, just a lot of stuff to process going into what will be the first movie of Phase 3, Civil War. But that's Phase 2.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag.
It is.
It's got some of the best. It's also got some of the worst.
Yeah, but Phase 3 will be more consistently quality.
I think so.
Yeah.
Not enough time for questions or anything like that today. We'll get to that. We'll have a whole mailbag episode at some point.
I had some great questions, though. Keep them coming in.
Whatever happens in the next 2 weeks, sometime I have to talk about the life of David Gale.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah.
So that's a teaser for you.
No, I understand. That's
that would be the title of the episode.
I have to talk about this movie.
We could
I
do a
watched
whole
the whole
mini
goddamn
pod.
thing just because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything I could talk about.
Are you serious that you've seen this recently?
Yes.
And, oh my God. I haven't seen it since it came out, and I remember it infuriating me at the end.
It is infuriating. And I'll just tell you this much. This movie is about a character played by Kevin Spacey who is a brilliant mind in his field, unable to find work because of rape accusations.
Right.
Let that sink in.
Yeah.
We'll come back later to talk about what the movie's actually about.
Yeah. But yeah, keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. Keep going to Reddit, keep going to Twitter, and giving us those questions and telling us what you thought about this episode. That'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Is that the Soul Stone?
It might be the Soul Stone.
Let me look up Ether here real quick.
I think it's the mind, not the mind. It's not the space. It's the Power Stone.
Ooh, could be the Power Stone.
Stone.
Oh, fuck you.
No, fuck you. Fuck you.
Fuck me?
No.
Fuck you.
You be tripping.
You are the one who is the ball licker.
2 Infinity Stones collect Ether to his care.
Jamal. You be tripping.
Yeah, you be tripping.
What they say the stuff.
I know that by the end of it, in the end credit scene, they say this can't be here.
Yeah.
But can't be in Asgard. This one is it's the one that he has.
Space Stone?
It's the purple one.
It's the Space Stone, I think.
I think it is the Space Stone.
I think that is correct.
Or the Power Stone. It's the Power Stone.
Oh, it might be the Power Stone.
It's the purple one.
Stone.
It is the Power Stone, I think.
It's definitely the purple one. You're typing a lot of letters.
Just he seems grumpier these days on Twitter.
Maybe he's grumpier.
It could be.
I get grumpier the older I get. I was thinking today, I was in the grocery store today and I got grumpy because they add calcium to orange juice, but I don't see them adding calcium to anything else.
Yeah.
Like I'm lactose intolerant, so I got to get my calcium wherever I can. So I always buy that one juice. Every juice brand has a calcium added.
Mm-hmm.
It's like no pulp with calcium.
Mm-hmm.
If they could just throw calcium in shit willy-nilly, why isn't there like cherry Coke with calcium? Why is orange juice the only thing we're adding calcium to? Can I get a chocolate bar with calcium added?
This is what gets you grumpy.
I got grumpy about it. I'm like, well, I want to understand it. What is it about orange juice that makes it susceptible to calcium infusion? But I can't get like calcium added iced tea, calcium added iced coffee. No.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is I get grumpy about stupid shit.
Last week I stayed up real late smoking a bunch of meat and stuff like that.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say weed.
no, that would have been funner. But I stayed up like maybe 2 or 3 nights in a row, and maybe why I got sick. And by the end of it, I had to take the dog crate upstairs to the bedroom when I was going to bed, and I just started bitching at my wife. I was just like, God, why every time I feel like I have to get up and bring this shit up here and everything, and just like laying into her for no reason at all. And she was like, what the hell, man? And as soon as I got in bed, I started cracking up. I was like, God damn, I'm grumpy. I'm sorry. That's awful. The hell was I just doing? Luckily, she's such a wonderful woman that she was laughing with me and not kicking me out.
That was kind of a funny thing, too, after the poker got done at your house and everything. I was like, do you need me to help you with anything at all? And she was like, well, if you can kick all those other people out, that'd be great. And I was like, okay. And I went up the stairs and I was like, hey, guys, we're done downstairs and this might need to be your last hand. And I'm like, could we do it one more rotation? I get the sense that this should be your last hand.
I didn't even realize they were up there last year. And I heard something at 2:30 or whatever. I just went upstairs, and it looked like fucking Kramer's apartment when he has the smoke party where everybody's just like, you see those queens in there? Do they look scared? I'm like, everybody get the fuck out. I was much less diplomatic than you were.
Right.
I have a question for you that's probably suited for outtakes, because I was watching Donnie Brasco. I know you're a big Donnie Brasco fan.
Love me some Donnie.
When does Lefty know about Donnie?
Oh, I feel like you could do a whole podcast on this question because the movie, I think, leaves it open.
It does
to interpretation.
Yeah,
because maybe it's just Al Pacino, the way Pacino's decided to play the character, or maybe it's the editing process and what they decide to show us. Because in that car, right before they get arrested, and he shows him he knows that was a federal boat. He's like, that's a federal boat, Donnie. He's got his gun out. He's going to make Johnny Depp kill the dude on the boat.
He's pointing it at him.
Yeah.
So
but he's
so
still
many
not
false starts.
selling me.
There's so many false starts because, Donnie actually comes clean. The scene we're talking about at the very end before they're about to attack Bruno, where he's pointing the gun at him as he shows him the boat.
Yeah.
But then he says, like, well, if you're a rat, and he points it at his head, and he's like, I'm the dumbest person in the history of the mafia. So you're like, oh, okay, he doesn't know. But then the whole time that they're creeping up on the boat, he's got his gun trained on him. And he's looking at him.
It's almost like,
I think he is going to shoot him. I think he knows.
I don't think he knows. Actually, I do think he knows. I just think he hasn't accepted it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to believe it.
And I don't think he's accepted it until that final shot of him putting all his belongings in the tray for his girlfriend to have before he goes out for the meeting.
Yeah, because they're all playing it up for a ruse when they're in the hideout and everything. Like, if you didn't know Donnie, then they would have. But see,
and none of them are selling me either. They all know at that point.
Oh yeah, and then they know they want Lefty not to know because he's going to get sent for.
Yeah,
but it's just that scene is delightful and so fucking confusing because when I watch it again, I'm like, he knows. He definitely knows now.
But he loves him.
Yeah,
and so. And they've had especially that moment in the hospital where he gets real about his kid.
I teared up when I saw it this time. It's really great.
It's really good. But they love each other. There's genuine love there, and it wrecks both of them. I think the movie is almost an indictment on undercover work as a tactic.
Totally.
Because it fucks up everyone.
Yeah, because that coda where they just basically take a picture with him and, that's it.
Yep.
And he's like,
good work. That was years
3
of your life.
years. Yeah.
Your marriage is wrecked. Your kids hate you.
Everything is wrecked.
Yep.
By the way, so this is 2013 Romeo and Juliet. Damian Lewis is in this. Haley Steinfeld plays...
Damian Lewis and Paul Giamatti way before Billions.
Yes, exactly. Haley Steinfeld plays Juliet. Douglas Booth plays Romeo. Stellan Skarsgård is in this. Ed Westwick from Gossip Girl is in this.
I've seen part of this because I saw Haley Steinfeld playing Juliet.
Leslie Manville is in this?
I only watched for a couple minutes, though.
I had no idea this movie existed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but also, my point in saying Romeo and Juliet is it's hundreds of years old, and they did the take a poison to make it look like you're dead when really you're not.
Yes,
thing.
yes, indeed.
It's not only old; it's fucking ancient.